And now it is Busch Stadium, Cubs and the Cardinals. Cubs throwing someone most of you have never heard of. John Miller, Rick Sutcliffe, Bonnie Bernstein with a call.
Okay, Carl. Tonight, Sunday Night Baseball samples the spirit of St. Louis. A sellout crowd has gathered downtown in the beautiful new Busch Stadium to see a ripe old rivalry renewed as the Cardinals try to sweep the Chicago Cubs. Earlier this season, a rivalry with roots back to the National League's early days was surprisingly one-sided in favor of the undermanned and injured Cubs. But this weekend, with a third straight division title far from certain for St. Louis, the Cardinals have made a statement. Friday, starting pitcher Jeff Suppan started the weekend with a clutch pitching performance and a 2-0 Redbird win. Yesterday, backup Gary Bennett was the hero with a game-ending hit. And now the Cardinals are in position for a much-needed sweep. Also tonight, with the final 5 weeks of the season at hand, we'll break down the race for the top spot in the National League Central. Can the Cardinals hold off the Reds, who have refused to wilt, but instead have blossomed in the heat of a late summer playoff push? Plus, a look at the candidates for National League MVP. Will it be Albert Pujols winning his second in a row? Carlos Beltran, the leader of the first-place New York Mets. Or Ryan Howard, the Phillies' young slugger. Or will someone else emerge as most valuable as the season enters the home stretch? Cubs-Cardinals, a classic rivalry complete with playoff implications next on Sunday Night Baseball. It's ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Taco Bell. It's a warm, muggy night in St. Louis at the beautiful new Busch Stadium, where tonight, those old, ancient antagonists, the Cubs and Cardinals, are about to play for the final time in 2006. The big crowd is gathering, and right now the Cardinals are right where you would figure them to be, at the top of the Central Division, but not by as much as you would figure them to be, struggling a lot more than anybody thought. The Cubs, of course, it is already a lost season. Hello, everyone. I'm John Miller, along with Rick Sutcliffe and Bonnie Bernstein. Welcome to Sunday Night Baseball. Now, my partner, Joe Morgan, is at the Little League World Series. Sorry, Joe, rained out, but we're ready to play ball here in St. Louis. And, Rick, the Cardinals have had a bad month, and they've had a lot of things that have gone badly, but even though they have not scored much this weekend, they got a chance to sweep the Cubs, and they're facing a rookie left-hander, Les Walren, who is making his first Major League start tonight. And, of course, Albert Pujols is having another fabulous year.
Yeah, he's putting up some offensive numbers that we haven't seen in a long, long time. Some people here call him a modern-day Babe Ruth. In fact, when you think about it, Babe Ruth hit the very first home run ever at Yankee Stadium. It went on to be called the house that Ruth built. Well, on April the 10th, Albert Pujols hit the first home run ever by a St. Louis Cardinal here at New Busch Stadium. And when you talk to people around St. Louis, they're starting to call this the house that Albert built.
Indeed. Albert Pujols, what a player. Now, the Cardinals' pitching, which has always been a strength these past few years, other than Chris Carpenter this year, has struggled mightily, including trade acquisition Jeff Weaver. He goes tonight, and his ERA, although he's pitched well lately, his ERA as a Cardinal, 5.74.
Well, and that's really been a big problem for them, has been the inconsistency in that starting rotation. It has been a strength for them in the past. They hope that with getting Mark Mulder back, he told me before the game tonight he's healthy. He looks for a good start the next time out. That could be big for them.
All right, so the Cubs getting ready to come to bat, and when we come back, Bonnie Bernstein will have more on Jeff Weaver. First pitch of this ball game is coming up shortly. We're at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. We'll be right back.
ESPN's Sunday Night Baseball is presented by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. And in part by Chevy, baseball's #1 fan. Chevy, an American revolution. And Nexium. Learn more about Nexium at purplepill.com.
Tonight's telecast is available in high definition on ESPN HD, presented by Hitachi. Cardinals atop the National League Central Division versus the Cubs, and this is the final meeting of the season between these two old rivals. The Cubs have already won the season series. They've tormented the Cardinals much of this season, which is about the only thing that the Cubs could point to and say, hey, that went pretty well. Dusty Baker still here, although a lot of people are speculating as to how much longer he'll be here. Tonight his Cubs are taking on Jeff Weaver and the Cardinals. Let's take a look at the Cubs batting order presented by Taco Bell. Juan Pierre, and he's actually turned in a decent season in center field. Freddie Bynum is at second base, a speedster who bats left-handed. Aramis Ramirez, he's having a big year, 31 homers, 88 batted in at third base. Jock Jones, the former Twin, is in right field hitting cleanup. It'll be Michael Barrett, the catcher, hitting .317. Then John Mabry, former Cardinal, is at first base as they expect to get Derrek Lee back tomorrow. Matt Merton is in left field hitting seventh. Ronnie Cedeno is the shortstop with Cesar Izturis injured, and Les Walrond makes his first major league start here tonight. Jeff Weaver making the start for the St. Louis Cardinals, and Weaver has struggled mightily this year, only 5-13 for more on Jeff Weaver. Let's go down to Bonnie Bernstein.
Well, John Weaver just turned 30 on Tuesday, so he's looking to give himself a little bit of a belated birthday gift. He was struggling with the Angels before he got traded here midseason. He was 3-10, and there were rumblings of an edgy attitude, and quite frankly, he was being overshadowed by his little brother Jared, who's a Rookie of the Year candidate in LA. But then Jeff came to St. Louis. He's worked with pitching coach Dave Duncan on his mechanics and his confidence, and even though Weaver's numbers have only been so-so, Duncan told me he really likes the way Jeff has been throwing the ball, and the only attitude he's seen has been a positive one. Tony LaRussa said to me, say what you will about this guy's reputation, but nobody has ever doubted Jeff's competitiveness. And John, with the Redbirds' woes on the mound of late, that's exactly what they need, competitive pitching.
Indeed, and that used to be a given with the Cardinals these past several years, but this year the Cardinals have been struggling in that department.
Well, just like Bonnie said, he's starting to regain the confidence in his fastball. A new arm angle has been created with him and pitching coach Dave Duncan. The other thing for Weaver, once the confidence comes, I believe you have to have success before you get confidence, but a better release point has improved his movement. He's always been a guy, John, that throws strikes, but he's given up a lot of home runs, trying to get more tilt to that sinking fastball and keep it in the ballpark.
So here's Weaver, and he got roughed up in his last start in New York on Tuesday, but he had 3 very strong starts prior to that. So he's been pitching better here lately. The crowd still gathering under gray skies. It's very humid. Chance of some rain, as the first pitch is a sinker, and it's down and away for ball 1. So we are underway in St. Louis. 81 degrees, the official game time temperature. And Juan Pierre's got a base hit to right field.
Defensively behind Jeff Weaver, it doesn't get any better than what he's got at third base. You see the 6 Gold Gloves for Scott Rolen. He's leading the National League in fielding percentage again this year. Won his first Gold Glove, John, at the age of 23 years old. The only other third baseman to win gold at 23 years of age, Brooks Robinson. And I think it's a pretty good comparison, the two of them.
Wow. Just a flashing Brooks Robinson on me all of a sudden.
You know a lot more about Brooks than I do. What do you think? Is he as good? Does he deserve to be compared to Brooks?
I only knew Brooks Robinson as a broadcaster. Before my time. Here is Freddie Bynum, and Weaver steps off the slab. Now Pierre is the guy who makes things go at the top of the Cubs batting order. And he has 44 steals this year. Thrown out 17 times, and he's back to the bag. He is second in the league behind the Mets' Jose Reyes in stolen bases. Reyes started today with 54. So Juan Pierre gets his lead over at first.
No Yadier Molina behind the plate. He's got that elbow still bothering. Gary Bennett back there.
Yadier Molina has been the toughest catcher to steal on in the league. He's thrown out 44% of those who have attempted to do it.
Bennett can't throw with him, but they're glad to have the bat of Gary Bennett in that lineup tonight. Game-winning hit yesterday, a homer earlier in that game.
He drove in all of their runs yesterday, all 2 of them, which was enough to win. And Weaver misses inside. A check swing, an appeal made to C.B. Buckner over at third, denied. 2-0 the count to Freddie Bynum. Now, this is where Weaver can have that attention divided, right? Instead of focusing just on the hitter, he's also worried about that runner.
And he's worried about the new release point, and all of a sudden he finds himself behind in the count.
2-0 the count. There goes Pierre. That one is into right center field. That's falling, and that's in there. Base hit. Pierre had to hold up. Now he's going to third as Encarnacion dropped that ball. A single for Bynum, plus an error on Encarnacion for allowing Pierre to go to third.
Wow. I mean, we have been spoiled. I'm sure the Cardinal fans feeling the same way right now. We look at K-zone. This ball is hit. You don't see any movement at all in center field. Over the last several years, Jim Edmonds has been out there. That would have been an easy play for him to not only catch, but keep Juan Pierre at first base. Instead, he gets to second, and on the air heads on to third base, and an opportunity with Ramirez up now for a big inning.
Well, this is just the way Dusty Baker wants to see it. 2 men on, and here's his big home run, an RBI man. In fact, really the only big home run, an RBI man, in the absence of Derrek Lee, who is scheduled to return tomorrow night from the disabled list as they go to Pittsburgh. But you see Ramirez, and he's got some of the best numbers in the league. 31 homers, 88 batted in. The infield swung around toward third against him. And Weaver behind 2-0.
You know, John, you just look at the outfield defensively with Duncan, Justin Wilson, Encarnacion. And you think about a year ago with Larry Walker, Edmonds, and Reggie Sanders, a big drop-off defensively for the Cardinals.
Edmonds alone a perennial Gold Glover. Walker in 1 Gold Gloves, and Reggie Sanders covers as much ground as anybody. Edmonds just returned on Friday night. He's had to battle post-concussion syndrome. And he fouls that one down off his left foot. But Edmonds struck out 4 times on Friday. Got into the game as a pinch hitter yesterday and struck out again.
When did that syndrome sneak into baseball?
Well, the former Cardinal, Mike Matheny, now with the Giants, is suffering from the same thing. And he is going to miss the rest of this season, and his career may be over.
We hear Corey Koski with the same problem up in Milwaukee. It used to be a football quarterback.
2-1 the count to Ramirez, and he fouls one back to the screen. 2-2. This is how Edmonds suffered the concussion on June 22nd in Chicago in an interleague game at the new Comiskey Park.
Well, we've seen him many, many times climb that wall and make that play. It wasn't hitting the wall that hurt him. It was when he hit the ground.
So now Weaver with a 2-ball, 2-strike count to Aramis Ramirez. Jock Jones on deck. Kind of got that breaking ball up.
He sure did. And what happened was he jumped at home plate with his body, which means you leave your arm behind. And take a look at it. Instead of being down and away where Bennett wanted, it was up and out over the plate, and a pitch that Ramirez would like to have back. He hasn't missed many of those since the All-Star break.
2-2 the count. And a fastball to the inside. And he had a mighty cut at that one, too. 2 balls, 2 strikes the count. Aramis Ramirez, and he was getting a lot of flack earlier this year because you see his numbers since the All-Star break, which are fabulous. But when Derrek Lee went down with his injury early in the season, Ramirez himself was mired in a slump. Weaver drops down on the side. There goes Bynum, and he steals it uncontested. And that one ended up way outside, and it's a full count to Aramis Ramirez.
Well, this was, Bonnie talked about it earlier, about the confidence. Weaver didn't have the confidence to go back up top and throw that breaking ball again, so he tried to create a different arm angle and basically fool Ramirez. The only thing he fooled was Gary Bennett, fooled him into having no chance to make a throw.
So now runners at second and third, nobody out. And that's the good one. The slider for the strikeout.
Tell you what, it's a good one, but it's not a good at bat by Ramirez. One of the few since the break. Let's go back and look at the sequence here. There's a fastball away. He misses with it. Another one. He misses down. All right, there's a good sinker. You see him starting to get aggressive. There's a pitch he should have hit. There's another pitch he should have hit out of the ballpark. But look at him now. All of a sudden on the inside corner, found that pitch out. He takes that one. But now with an RBI out there, he's not going to let that ball get by him. If you walk, you don't pick up the RBI. He was aggressive, almost like Weaver knew he was going to swing the bat.
Now here's Jock Jones. That is just foul past first base. So runners still at second and third. So you think,
well, I think
that he was aggressive wanting to get that RBI.
I think maybe a little bit there, but also the fact you got to give Ramirez some credit now. There's really no protection behind him. There will be tomorrow night when Derrek Lee comes off the disabled list. But I'm sure Dusty Baker's probably told his slugger, hey, you know what? If you can reach it, take a swing at it. We're better off with you trying to do the damage.
One strike to count. And over the inside corner with a fastball. Strike two. Cubs are last in the league in runs per game. They're only 10th in home runs, and they've given up a huge number. Last in doubles, last in walks, last in on-base percentage, and on down the list. So, in fact, they are the lowest scoring team in either league.
A long time since you said that about the Chicago Cubs.
And the curveball outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Cubs have not finished last in the majors in runs scored since 1919 was the last time. But the Cubs in this series have only scored 1 run. And they're not getting the clutch hits in this spot. They don't even need a hit. A ground ball to one of the middle infielders or even to first base should easily get Pierre home. Inside, 2-2.
It's easier to pitch in these situations, John, when you got a guy at home plate you know wants to swing the bat. He doesn't want to walk. He wants that RBI. It's almost like when a guy has a hitting streak going. You know that he's got to get a hit to extend that thing. So as a pitcher, you try to get him to extend the strike zone.
Well, Jock Jones is another very aggressive hitter. Fastball misses. Now it's full 3-2. Jock Jones has 21 home runs. He's having a pretty good year for the Cubs, but only 22 walks. He's had 430 official at-bats. Pierre very fast at third. Bynum, who runs well, at second. 3-2. And Jock Jones does walk. Little cutter off the inside, and now the bases are loaded with 1 out. Tony LaRussa with his longtime pitching coach Dave Duncan alongside.
That's a tough one right there. You got a guy, as you mentioned, first of all, tough to walk. Tough for Tony LaRussa to handle that after having Jock Jones down with an 0-2 count, letting him get away.
Now the guy who has the best batting average on the Cubs, Michael Barrett, hitting .317. He got 16 homers, 48 batted in. Bases loaded. The infield double play deck. And that's just a little dribbler foul. And fortunately foul for Barrett. Michael Barrett. Interestingly, last year he was, Dusty Baker said many times, he was the best clutch hitter on the Cubs team. The guy you wanted up there. I mean, you always wanted Derrek Lee up there, but otherwise you had big runs to drive in. You wanted Barrett up there. This year, Barrett is hitting .317, but he's hitting only .256 with runners in scoring position.
Barrett, of course, won that silver bat last year as the best offensive catcher in the National League.
Now, here comes Pierre. And Bennett stumbled as he tried to chase that one, and what the Cubs have not been able to do for themselves, Weaver has done for them with a wild pitch to make it 1-0 Chicago.
All kinds of problems defensively now. Not paying attention to a runner led to a stolen base. You had a ball in center field that could have been caught. It was not. Played into an error. And now you just flat give him a run. I mean, that ball, nothing Bennett could do right there. He tries to get outside. Look at the pitch. I mean, it was almost out of the batter's box on the left side there. Pierre, good base running, comes in to touch home.
And that also eliminates the ground ball double play possibility. That ball is hammered foul into the seats down the left field line. 1-2 to Barrett. So now Barrett's in the same spot that Ramirez and Jock Jones have been in. He could knock in a run without getting a hit.
Even with the problems offensively for the Cardinals in this series, you get the feeling with the infield back, Tony LaRussa thinks that off Les Walren they'll be able to score some runs tonight, or he would bring the infield in here.
1 run already in. Bynum at third, Jones at second. Well, that'll get the other run home. Well done by Michael Barrett. He picks up the RBI with a ground ball to the right side. Bynum scores. Jock Jones takes third. It is 2-0 Cubs.
Really a good piece of hitting right here to advance both runners 90 feet. Productive outs all the way around. There it is, outside corner. Knew the infield was back. Just simply put the ball in play on the ground to extend the lead to 2-0.
Now John Mabry trying to get that third run home. So the Cubs with a couple of runs home. They've already doubled the number of runs they scored in the first 2 games combined here in the first inning of this one. And the curveball in there for a called strike. 0-1 the count. John Mabry, a valuable member of the Cardinals. He's been with several teams, but originally with the Cardinals. The guy can play first base, third base, the outfield. Left-handed hitter. That is foul. So quickly he's behind in the count, 0-2. But Mabry hitting only .220 as a Cub this year.
Mabry platooning at first base. Right-handed hitting Phil Nevin, who hit a home run yesterday, not in the lineup tonight. Neither one of them is going to be in the lineup for a while now with Derrek Lee coming back.
That is strike 3 call. Fastball with movement coming back to the inside, and Mabry contests that call. Cubs lead 2-0, their first lead in the series. The Cardinals coming up. Here we are at the new Busch Stadium, and the Cardinals are coming up with Preston Wilson, newly acquired, and then Chris Duncan and Albert Pujols. Let's take a look at the batting order now, presented by Taco Bell. Preston Wilson, the powerful right-handed hitter, just recently acquired. Then Chris Duncan, son of the pitching coach, and he is having an outstanding rookie season. Albert Pujols, every year seems to be better than the last, considering he missed 17 games on the DL. What a year. Then Scott Rolen, big rebound year for him. 78 batted in at third base. Juan Encarnacion, he's driven in 67. He's in center field tonight, usually right field. Ronnie Belliard, formerly with Cleveland, at second base. It'll be Aaron Miles, the shortstop, in the absence of the injured David Eckstein, who may miss the rest of the year. Gary Bennett, the catcher, and he's been hot lately, 8 for his last 11. And Jeff Weaver is the pitcher batting ninth, all up against the 29-year-old rookie, Les Walren from Tulsa, Oklahoma, who is making his first major league start right now. And he very calmly picks up that outside corner with a fastball for a strike to Preston Wilson.
He's the 7th Chicago Cub to make his first major league start this year.
Over the mound, over the middle, base hit.
Take a look at the scouting report on the 29-year-old left-hander, former Cardinal, drafted by St. Louis back in '98. You can see from the first pitch there, not throwing very hard, a crafty left-hander. Changeup is supposedly his best pitch. We obviously have not seen him here. And he's got to stay on the corners. When you don't throw real hard, if you miss in the heart of the play with a guy like Duncan, it goes a long ways.
And Duncan takes ball 1. I mean, Chris Duncan, 331 average, 14 homers in only 181 at-bats. Also a guy, he'd been a first baseman. He signed as a first baseman. And he was in the farm system, never played the outfield till spring training this year. as he takes a strike on the outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. But Tony LaRussa says he's one of those guys. He can have a lot of things go well, and then one thing goes poorly, as we see his dad, the pitching coach of the Cardinals, looking on. And he's very upset always about the one thing because he's just never satisfied.
I think that's a good thing, though. I was talking with first base coach Dave McKay, their outfield coach, about him, and he said, yeah, he had a problem Friday night, and he said he made a great play yesterday's game, early in the game, but when he came in, he said, you know what, I didn't get a very good jump on that ball, so always trying to get better.
1-2 the count for the rookie Chris Duncan, and the slider a little bit low. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Les Walren, what a big night for him. This is a guy who's been pitching professionally since 1999 and got one brief big league opportunity with the Kansas City Royals 3 years ago. And there's that high breaking ball for the strikeout. Now here comes Albert Pujols. The great Pujols in the house that Pujols built.
I don't know where I came up with that.
If St. Louis is baseball heaven, Albert Pujols is a god. That's just some speculation.
And I'll put it this way. He's really, really good. And he, too, one of those guys that's always working to get better. And he's worked so hard on his defense, and that's what he's most proud of going into the last month of the season.
And back to the bag at first is Preston Wilson. Pujols has missed 18 games this year. Missed 17 in a row while on the disabled list with an oblique muscle injury. But the Cubs have really shut him down. And you look at the Cubs, the fact that they've won the season series over the Cardinals. They're 11-7 against St. Louis. And then you realize, well, that's not such a coincidence. They've been beating the Cardinals, and they've been shutting down Albert Pujols.
And I asked Dusty Baker about that, and he said, you know what? He goes, shh, shh. He goes, every day I'm scared that today's going to be the day that he breaks out of it. In fact, they intentionally walked him in the game yesterday, and they were able to get Rolen to pop up.
1 strike to Albert Pujols. And the curveball just missing. Les Walren actually has faced Pujols. He's faced a handful of the Cardinals before. He pitched 2 innings in 2 relief appearances in a mop-up role in interleague games for Kansas City against the Royals, or against the Cardinals rather, 3 years ago. Fastball away as the ballpark lights up with the camera flashes with each pitch to Albert Pujols, as if the Cardinal fans know, even though he's still a young guy early in his career, that when he's up there, they're looking at one of the greats of the game on his way to the Hall of Fame. Hit hard to center, right to Pierre. And that is out number 2. Pujols retired. Wilson back to first. Now here's Scott Reese with a SportsCenter 30 at 30 update.
Okay, John, Tiger Woods wins his 4th straight tournament, the Bridgestone Invitational. He does it on the 4th playoff hole, beating Stuart Sink. 52nd career victory, matches Byron Nelson for 5th all time. And the Dallas Morning News reports Terrell Owens got fined $9,500 for missing a team meeting and a rehab session and being late to another meeting. Details on SportsCenter after the game, constantly on ESPN News and your ESPN mobile, guys.
Wilson back to the bag at first. 2 down. Scott Rolen is the hitter now. Albert Pujols, well, maybe that's what's been happening with Albert against the Cubs this year, because that ball he hit hard, but right to the center fielder. Scott Rolen, who had an injury plagued year last year, and he's come back big time this season, and he's still not 100% back physically. He had the shoulder problem last year, but his numbers are still pretty good. 310 average, 19 homers, 39 doubles, and 78 runs batted in.
Tony LaRussa talking about all the problems that they had, but he kind of compared the Cardinals' year to the round of golf for Tiger Woods today. He said, watch this. He said he's been struggling the front 9, but he's going to turn it on and win this tournament. Tony LaRussa saying that's what the Cardinals need to do the last month of the season.
There goes Wilson. Pitch taken. The throw down to second base. Good throw, but dropped by Bynum. And I think he was going to be in there anyway. A steal for Preston Wilson, his 9th of the year.
He stole that base yesterday that led to the game winner in the bottom of the 9th, and found himself when he got to the park tonight as the leadoff man. He said, I didn't care. I asked him when he had been there last. He said it's been 7 or 8 years, but he knows his job. You're going to have the green light. If you get an opportunity to run, take off. He's able to do it there and get into scoring position.
A new role for Preston Wilson, leadoff. Fastball beauty right on the outside of the knees from Les Walrond. 2-2 to Scott Rolen. Scott Rolen, who had, as we said, 78 runs batted in, hitting .289 with runners in scoring position this year. There's Encarnacion. He would be next. 2-0. The Cubs out front. Les Walrond, it's been a while. All those years in the minors, all the disappointments. He's actually a guy who at one time was with the Cardinals. He was a Cardinals draft choice in 1998. Check swing. An appeal made. No, says Wally Bell, the first base umpire. 3-2 to Scott Rolen.
Yeah, Waldron had a lot of injuries early in his career on the DL. 99, 2001, 2003 with the Cardinals. Released in 03. Was signed by Kansas City. And John, as you mentioned, got to the big leagues. Released again. And then in January was signed by the Cubs to a minor league deal.
That ball is belted deep and foul. Had a very majestic blast up there into the 3rd level out in left field. 3-2 to Scott Rolen. By the way, Scott Rolen hits a lot of fair ball homer on Sunday Night Baseball.
Is that right?
Absolutely. He rises to the occasion.
In fact, he has hit 8 since 2002 with you and Mr. Morgan.
That's a base hit to right field. Wilson heading home, and the ball goes by. Jock Jones, and they'll all run for a while. The run is scored. Rolen to third. Oquendo is waving him. Here comes the relay. Offline. Swing.
First of all, just a great piece of hitting. Behind in the count, drives the ball to the opposite field with an opportunity to score a run. Take a look at K-zone here. Ball on a perfect pitch outside corner. I mean, that's where you wanted to throw it. But Rolen did with it what he wanted to do. Jones charging hard, wanted to try to throw out Wilson at home. But look at him here. When he sees that, he knows that Jose Oquendo, the third base coach, is as aggressive as any in baseball. There's the wave, the bad throw. We got a tie game.
And now Encarnacion. Well, we just had mentioned how he hit all those home runs on Sunday Night Baseball. That's only a home run maybe in Little League, but he gets a single and an RBI. And then the error by Jock Jones for the other 3 bases. But the effect was just the same. 1 strike the count to Encarnacion. 2-2, and we're seeing a little bit of the kind of a season it's been for the Chicago Cubs this year. Jock Jones, who actually is a very fine outfielder.
You know what? That's a hustle right there. There'll never be a pitcher or a manager fault the guy for that. But I love the hustle on the part of Rolen and how he turned the corner at every bag to make it the shortest trip possible.
3-1.
Look at him there. Look at him on the inside part of the bag with his right. Look at Oquendo. Take a look at him again with the right foot on the inside part of the bag. Oquendo giving him a good shot and another Cardinal hit.
Encarnacion into right field. Taking a page out of Rolen's book there. Going the other way with it. And now Larry Rothschild, the Cubs pitching coach, going to go out and speak to Les Walrond.
The Cubs had a lot of options as far as who to call up from their AAA team. Wade Miller was not one of them. Same kind of pitch. It's elevated a little bit, which to me means that Waldron's getting a little bit tired. A great time for the pitching coach to come out. But the reason it was Waldron that was called up, sure, he's 10-5. He had some success as a starter. But the Cardinals this year, 18-29 against left-handed starting pitchers.
So Rothschild back to the dugout. Cubs tonight using their 14th different starter, and he's the 8th rookie to have made a start for them. And this is the 56th game started by a rookie. Nearly half of the Cubs' schedule have been started by rookie pitchers. Dusty Baker, and I mean, it's pretty remarkable. You have to go back a ways to find a team that has had so many games pitched by rookies. And there's a called strike now to Ron Belliard.
Well, you saw there that the Florida Marlins have had more rookies starting pitching this year, but they were counting on that. They knew that going into the season. A lot of these guys that Dusty Baker has seen that weren't in the plans when this season began.
Here in the month of August, the Cubs have had a rookie starting pitcher 18 times just in this 1 month. And that is the most in one calendar month for the Cubs using rookie starters in 104 years. Off the mound to get it, Walrond has to hurry in time to get Ron Belliard, and the inning is over. So some bad luck there for Walrond. 2 runs, 1 unearned. The game is tied at 2 on to the second. Inning number 2, White Sox, or the Cubs 2 and the Cardinals 2, as the first hitter, Matt Merton, into right field, and it is Albert Pujols who saved the moment right there with Belliard, the second baseman, and Wilson, the right fielder, in the vicinity. But a nice play by Albert, and Merton is gone, 1 away.
You say Gold Glove?
Now, it's been a trying season for Dusty Baker, and the last couple of seasons have been very trying. And Dusty also been in the news with the hate mail which he has received that has often had a racial tinge to it. And let's go down for more on that to Bonnie Bernstein.
Well, John, Dusty wanted to point out to me that that type of hate mail and the phone calls, that's been going on most of his career. And now that stuff's coming from all over the place, not just in Chicago. But he did mention something interesting. He said back on last New Year's Eve, he had 8 messages on his cell phone that were so disturbing, he actually forwarded them to the league. And the league has since asked him to hang on to the hate mail that he usually throws away. Now, Dusty says, I'm not scared for myself, but I fear for my wife and my child, which is why 7-year-old Darren can hang out with his dad during BP for games at Wrigley, but he watches the actual games at home. And as for how Baker deals with his players who get hate mail, he said, I tell them about Hank Aaron and Jackie Robinson and how they had to deal with that stuff too. And I even tell my white players, don't be naive. Make people understand this kind of stuff is still going on.
Thanks, Bonnie. As Ronnie Cedeno, as once again Jeff Weaver dropped down from the side, and Cedeno punches it into left center for a base hit. Well, Jackie Robinson went through more than any player in the history of the game. He was the first black player, the first African-American player allowed to play in the major leagues, breaking what was then called the color line. And this number has been retired throughout baseball. And part of the agreement Jackie Robinson made with Branch Rickey was that although the epithets and the hatred and the pressure was going to come from all corners, that he was going to have to not fight back, but simply take it out on the field with him. And Jackie Robinson ended up being one of the great players of the game, despite those heavy pressures. The bunt by Walrond moves Cedeno up to second base. 2 down.
I tell you what, John, I think every baseball fan owes it to himself. Right across the state here in the state of Missouri in Kansas City is the Negro Baseball League Museum. Buck O'Neill, of course, has done a wonderful job with it. If you just take time, if you're ever in the area to go through that, you'll get a little bit of an idea of what Jackie Robinson and the others back in that time had to go through. It's a truly touching experience, and you can understand some of the concerns that Dusty has right now for his family.
And although Jackie Robinson and all of those things happened so many years ago, and the racial climate has changed in many ways, in many good ways since that time, that kind of hatred still exists. And it's not just Dusty Baker. There are other African-American players on his own team who receive similar kinds of mail and that sort of thing. 1 ball and no strikes, the count to Juan Pierre.
I can remember too, John. I remember back in 1984 when I was pitching with the Cubs. I mean, I got some phone calls at the hotel, and of course I called manager Jim Fry to say whatever. The calls were, if you take the mound tonight, we're going to take you out. And the security in Major League Baseball is amazing, and it continues to get better every year. And as we did then, and as Dusty has done now, I mean, those are the authorities. Those are the experts. You let them handle that and advise you as to what to do and what not to do.
1 ball, 1 strike to Juan Pierre, who singled starting the 2-run first inning rally. And Weaver misses with the slider down and away. 2 balls and 1 strike.
I'm a huge fan of Juan Pierre, boy. I'm telling you what, this guy loves the game of baseball. No one gets to the ballpark any earlier than he does. No one works any harder than he does.
And the cutter off the inside. 3-1 now to Pierre.
They're telling a story just a month or so ago. They were in Houston, and Phil Nevin said he got to the ballpark about 2 o'clock, and as he walked into the dugout out on the field in full uniform was Juan Pierre out there running sprints in Houston. He said it had to be 110, and he was out there getting his legs loose, learning that outfield.
And the curveball from Weaver misses. Pierre draws a walk, and now Freddie Bynum will come up. That's the second walk allowed by Jeff Weaver. 2-2. We're in the 2nd inning. The Cardinals at the start of the night atop the Central Division in the National League. They began the day 2 ahead of Cincinnati, but the Reds were, for the 3rd straight day, beaten out in San Francisco. The Giants defeated the Reds 8-0 in San Francisco, so the Cardinals could make that a 3-game advantage with a win here. And the breaking ball down and in, and now the catcher Bennett's going to go out to speak to Jeff Weaver. As you see the standings in the Central Division, the Astros 3rd place, still pretty distant, 6.5 out. But the Reds had actually gone into a virtual tie with the Cardinals for 1st place in the division as of games last Thursday night, and the Cardinals have a chance to gain 3 games in the standings only in 3 days' time.
Because the Cardinals' problems came when they had to go to Shea Stadium. A lot of teams in the National League that struggle in that ballpark or against that team.
The Mets clearly the class of the National League, which is not to say that they're a given to waltz through the postseason into the World Series. They have some issues in that starting rotation right now that need to be taken care of. Some of their top pitchers like Pedro and Tom Glavine have some injury problems, physical problems, and the ball off the foot of Freddie Bynum. The count 1 ball and 2 strike. But they are clearly the class of the league. And one problem the Cardinals have had again and again this year is they've been beaten up by the Mets as recently as you said this week. They got swept in New York, and they just got annihilated by the White Sox and the Detroit Tigers, Minnesota Twins when they play them in interleague play. Some of the top teams from over the American League Central. So it's been an oft repeated theme this year. The Cardinals have not done well against the best teams in baseball. Hit hard into center field. Base hit. Cedeno will score. Pierre heading for 3rd. Encarnacion hits the cutoff man Miles with the throw. And the Cubs are back ahead 3-2. Freddie Bynum with his 2nd straight hit.
They're starting to see some things with Freddie Bynum that they like a lot, and tonight will not change that opinion. We take a look at K-zone here. He clearly missed his location, trying to get the fastball in, did not do that, and you see the release point there to that sinker. He's starting to drop down again, and instead of there being some tilt to it, creating a ground ball, it's just kind of sliding away from the left-handed hitter to the big part of the bat, creating another run for Chicago.
You see the frustration there of Jeff Weaver.
You know, we saw a lot of that, John, as he was in the dugout after the first inning. You know, you'd like to see him take that energy to the mound with him rather than, you know, into the dugout there.
Ramirez. What a play by Scott Rolen. Evoking the memories of Brooks Robinson over there. As Rick Sutcliffe mentioned Brooksy earlier. Wow. An incredible play by Rolen on the broken bat liner. He defied gravity for a moment.
ESPN's Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Taco Bell. Brought to you by Degree for Men, protects men who take risks.
Sunday Night Baseball from St. Louis in the new sparkling Busch Stadium. I'm John Miller with Rick Sutcliffe, Joe Morgan at the Little League World Series. And ball one to Aaron Miles. Back to Wallen. And the lefty throws a fastball over to first base. One away. Aramis Ramirez got robbed in the last inning, didn't he?
Well, Rolen not only leads the National League in fielding percentage for the third baseman, but take a look at this. I mean, this is an extra base hit, at least one, probably 2 RBIs for Ramirez. And you'd think that he didn't know it. We saw the frustration from Dusty Baker. And look at that.
Another guy who gets robbed by Rolen and takes it out in his helmet.
There's usually one every night or more.
Here's Gary Bennett, and he takes low for ball one. You know, when I saw that play, we were looking at the replay, and I looked at Juan Pierre. Juan was so focused on that ball being a hit and being fair and all that, and him scoring a run, he almost got nailed by that bat and a jagged edge. I mean, I don't know if you saw Pierre in that replay, but
I don't think he saw the bat. He got by.
He did not have any idea until it almost got it. 2-0 to Gary Bennett, who has been a hot hitter. He was the offense for the Cardinals here yesterday. There is Cedeno from the hole, and that is out number 2. Look at that play again. The broken bat liner by Aramis Ramirez, and watch Pierre, the runner at third, instead.
Well, he's watching the ball, which is what he's supposed to do. He takes a look down the line, and all of a sudden right there he sees Rolen, and then he feels something. I think he just kind of saw the dust come up, and look at that. I mean, that was far too late to have protected him if that indeed would have been at him.
Now, this is a guy who can be a free agent at the end of the year, a guy who's on a team that's going nowhere, and yet so focused on the game, scoring the run, that he could have gotten hurt right there.
Still playing the game right, isn't he?
He just went up a few points in my estimation.
Well, I think they've got to bring him back. With Ramirez having an option, obviously they need him back. Derrek Lee will be back tomorrow. Barrett has been solid. They've got a shortstop now with Isturris. Starting rotation headed by Zambrano. There's D. Lee. He will be back. You got to figure they're going to try to get Mark Pryor back. Hill, who pitched yesterday, looked real good. But then it will be time for the front office to go do the things that they need to do. This team, I just didn't think it had enough ability when the season began to compete with the Cardinals, even without the injuries.
I mean, if they had not had the injuries, it clearly would have been better, but it just never did seem to be quite in the league with the Cardinals.
You know, John, there's a saying in the horse business about being barn blind, where what you have in your barn you think's really better than it is. You can take a look at the starters there that have made their major league debut. There wasn't the depth in that starting rotation that was needed. But when you get your horses out to the big show, you find they're not as good as you really thought they were. And I really thought that was what happened with the Cubs this year. And you know what? They need to get better horses. And it all starts with that starting rotation. You have to have the 5 in place. You have to have the depth. I just go back to the last 3 years and the keys to winning world championships. You go back to Florida when they won. I mean, you take a look there at the frustration on the part of the Cubs. Florida won. They had Beckett, they had Penny, they had Dontrelle Willis, they had Redmond, they had Pavano. And then, of course, Boston. They had 5 starting pitchers with 10 or more wins. And then last year, the White Sox, they led the American League in innings pitched with their starting rotation. It starts with your starting pitcher. The Cardinals have known that well.
Oh, now it's the starting pitching. What happened to the horses?
Well, the horses are on the corners out there.
So,
Yeah.
so you need better horses.
Those are the horses.
But it doesn't start with the horses. It starts with the starting pitching.
Well, those are the horses that are really
See,
important.
I was following you on the horse thing, but now I don't.
Remember what Ozzie Guillen said? You know, you're not going to win the Kentucky Derby riding a donkey. I need some horses.
And good starting pitching.
And he got Contreras. He got Freddie Garcia. He got Javier Vasquez in the offseason. No complete game for the Chicago Cubs this year. None.
Wow. 2-1 to Preston Wilson after the 2-out walk to Jeff Weaver. Les Walrond creating a little trouble for himself. He just couldn't throw a strike to Jeff Weaver. Weaver, who actually is generally a pretty good hitter. That's a strike at the knees. 2-2 now to Preston Wilson, who singled, stole a base, and scored a run in the first inning.
You know, we're seeing some things to like here with Waldron. And he's fastball at 92 there in a good spot. Cardinals have hit some good pitches off. Rolen hit a great pitch to drive in the first run.
Chris Duncan would be next. That breaking ball. And caught by Matt Merton on the run. 3-2 Cubs on to the third inning. When we come back, we'll go to the studio with Steve Phillips on trade possibilities here coming up at the end of the month. Sunday Night Baseball. Cubs lead the Cardinals 3-2 as we go to the third inning in St. Louis. And we're very pleased to be joined now by Steve Phillips, former Major League General Manager, now with ESPN and Baseball Tonight. And Steve, welcome to Sunday Night Baseball. And first off, tell us what the rosters have to be frozen for the postseason at the end of the month of August. Are there trades still to be made out there by teams looking to fortify themselves for these last few weeks?
Well, John, Rick, I mean, teams are still talking. I don't think there's any question about it. There's still discussions going on. But right now, it's not really for impact players. It's for roles, for filling out that right-handed bat off the bench, for the left-handed bat off the bench. Maybe a reliever down the stretch to try to help somebody. You saw Jeff Conine move today to the Philadelphia Phillies to just add another bat to handle situations, but not really looking for any impact deals where frontline players get moved or frontline pitchers before August 31st.
All right, Jeff Weaver to Jock Jones now as we start the third. Ball one to Jock. So does that surprise you a little bit? Or what? It seemed like the last time we talked near the end of July, the Phillies were subtracting. Now they're adding.
It really is amazing. I mean, you know, what a turnaround for them. And for whatever reason, it took some of the pressure off. They started playing better baseball. They added Jamie Moyer. They get a Jose Hernandez. And Pat Gillick, you know, has sent the message that, yes, we're rebuilding, but if we have a chance, we're going to go for it. I think Phillies fans are responding to it.
All right, what about the Cardinals here? I mean, they've still been struggling a little bit. You see them doing something? Walt Jocketty doing something before the end of the month?
Well, you know, they did pick up Jose Vizcaino, which is a help with David Eckstein going down. And I mean, Walt Jocketty's going to continue to look. He looked for offense at the deadline because he knew he couldn't get impact pitching. Walt's still going to try to look out there. But, you know, ultimately, there's not really big pieces. They may look for some support at shortstop because I'm not sure Jose Vizcaino with Aaron Miles is exactly the way they want to go down the stretch if Eckstein doesn't come back.
Deep fly ball to left by Michael Barrett, but caught on the warning track by Chris Duncan, and that is out number 2. Barrett giving one a pretty good ride. 2 down for the Cubs in the third against Weaver. We've got Steve Phillips here with us from Baseball Tonight from the studios. And Steve, what about over in the American League? Are the Red Sox, are they dead? What's your take on the Red Sox now?
Well, I tell you, I mean, the Yankee series last weekend really exposed the weakness with the Red Sox pitching, and we haven't been proving anything different on the trip to the West Coast. And I think it's going to be a real tough road, especially with Manny down, because they're going to have to outslug opponents. offense, and they can't do it right now.
John Mabry out to center field, Encarnacion's got it. Steve Phillips, many thanks. From the studios, Steve Phillips. All right. 5-pitch inning there for Jeff Weaver. Now Chris Duncan, Albert Pujols, and Scott Rolen. The big sluggers are coming up with the Cardinals, who trail 3-2. Here's the rookie Les Walrond with a first pitch breaking ball. Strike one to Chris Duncan. Duncan, the rookie, having such an outstanding rookie season, struck out his first time. Albert Pujols is on deck. Les Walrond in his first major league start. And the curveball low and outside for a ball. 1 ball and 1 strike. Les Walrond, who went to the University of Kansas, and it was the only place that would give him a scholarship to both play the outfield and to pitch. And while he was at Kansas, that a scout from the Boston Red Sox came up to him and said, you have no future as a hitter, as an outfielder. My suggestion to you, you have a pretty good arm, is to concentrate on pitching. And Walrond took that to heart and eventually signed a contract with the St. Louis Cardinals. But the scout never told him that it might take all these years. It might be 8 years after that before you finally get a start. That ball is hit deep, left center, and Merton has it right in front of the bullpen. So 1 away, and Duncan gave that one a long ride. And here comes Albert Pujols. And here's our passion for excellence presented by Bridgestone Tires. And Albert, in his first 900 games, he's played 900 exactly now. And there he is in the all-time list. Only Ralph Kiner, Harmon Killebrew, Frank Robinson, and Albert Bell with more home runs after 900 games in the big leagues than Albert Pujols. Kiner in the Hall of Fame, Killebrew in the Hall of Fame, Frank Robinson in the Hall of Fame. And Albert Pujols was headed to the Hall of Fame until injury finally cut him down prematurely. He was one of the great sluggers in the game. And that is too low for Albert Pujols. 2-0 the count. Albert has had injury problems this year, that oblique muscle strain, and really it was something that was plaguing him even as the season began. Finally put him on the shelf for about 2.5 weeks.
First time he was ever on the DL.
And yet you look at his numbers, his homers and RBIs, and you wouldn't know that he missed any time at all. Little dribbler. That was staying fair. And he's got a hit. An 88-foot base hit.
They say things are supposed to even out, and they just did tonight for Albert Pujols. His first at bat, he hit a line drive that almost knocked center fielder Juan Pierre down. He got nothing for that. And this little dribbler here, you know, Ramirez would like to have taken a hit away from the Cardinals after what Rolen did to him, but nothing he could do there. And believe it or not, that's just the first hit in this series for Albert Pujols.
So Albert, who had gone 0 for 16 here at home, including the first 2 games of this series, rolling into right field. Jack Jones back into his left, and Rolen is gone. Rolen, who had the single into a home run his first time, retired.
You knew he'd pick on Jack Jones again, didn't you? Or tried to anyway.
Now Encarnacion will come up. So Rolen is 1 for 2. Albert Pujols, though, had his longest offer at home of his career. And he just got out of it with an 88-foot single. He had been 0 for 16. He never had anything longer than an 0 for 14 in the old Busch Stadium. And he does think that the ball carried a little bit better at the old Busch Stadium than the new one.
Yeah, when I made the comment about this being the house that Albert built, he told me before the game, he said he wouldn't have built it this big.
Well, he did homer on opening day, and there were a lot of home runs hit opening day. That's into right field. Base hit. Encarnacion has gone that way in consecutive at-bats and is now 2 for 2, with Pujols stopping at second.
His average was .221 on May the 18th, and he was saying before the game all he has done is cut down on his strikeouts. He's putting the ball in play more consistently now, and that average all the way up to right at the 280 mark right now. Look at this. I mean, it's a pretty good pitch. You try to pull it, that's a ground ball out. But no, he doesn't. Going to the opposite field, keeping the line moving.
So now Ronnie Belliard comes up with 2 men on and 2 men out against Walren. And a big curveball, 0-1. You see those numbers for Encarnacion in the last 77 games, hitting .304, which is half a season.
Just kind of a typical year for him. You know? I mean, he's been with a lot of teams, and that's normally the kind of year that you'll see from him.
Another curveball from Walren, and that is up and away. A ball and a strike. Walren, whose dad was a nose guard for 2 Oklahoma national champions back in the 1970s. And Walren said that his dad, George Walren, taught him to be a student of the game. And when he was in the Cardinal farm system, he had a chance to chat several times in spring training several years ago with the late Darryl Kyle, when Kyle was a star pitcher for the Cardinals. And he said, after Kyle's death, he said, you know, I really wanted to be just like Darryl Kyle because of the, not just as nice a guy as he was, he says, as if I'd been a teammate of his for 10 years. He couldn't have been more open and more friendly with me. But also just the way that he could see Darryl Kyle was one of those guys who get there a little earlier than everybody else, do a little more work than everybody else, and was so determined to be the best that he could be. Kyle, who is still remembered fondly here in St. Louis.
Well, all over.
2-1 the count, and that is a little bit low. But that's part of what Walren did that his dad had taught him. He studied Darryl Kyle. He studied him on and off the field. Not just the way he pitched, but just the way he carried himself and the way he worked.
Darryl Kyle was just a great man. Whether it be a friend or a father or a husband or a teammate.
And that's too low from Walren, so he walks Belliard. The bases are loaded for Aaron Miles.
Another trip to the mound. This is a familiar sight for the Cubs again this year with all the problems with their starting rotation. But Dusty was saying before the game, as he looked at the reports on Waldron, he said, hey, look at it. There's a bunch of 6-inning starts. You know, we hope that he can go out there and give us that. His numbers in ERA were a little bit high, but you got to remember that's the Pacific Coast League. They're going to be higher from time to time there. And now as we're a pitching coach, you don't have a whole lot to go on. They saw a little bit of Waldron in spring training. He was a non-roster invitee. But what Larry Rothschild saw down in the bullpen, what he's seen here in the ball game, he's just going to go out and offer whatever advice he can.
Well, Walren was one of those guys in spring training. He was with the Cubs all spring, and they call him he was a JIC guy. He went on every single road trip, no matter where they went. And he was one of those just-in-case guys.
Yeah. I had a few of those years.
That they didn't plan to pitch him in any of those games, but just in case they got a long game or something happened to somebody, that he'd be there and could be used. But they said he never complained.
Well, that's what non-roster means. It means
just in case.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere, and if needed, you're going to fill out our AAA roster. That's a great story for him to get back to the big leagues.
1 strike to count to Aaron Miles, former Colorado Rockies middle infielder, and he's now in there in place of the injured David Eckstein, the Cardinals' regular shortstop. And he's got the bases loaded here. Big moment in the game. 2 homers, 24 batted in for Aaron Miles. Pujols at third, Encarnacion at second, Belliard at first. That's a called strike. Now he's ahead of him is Walren. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Pujols hit an 88, maybe 89-foot single. I'm sort of fluctuating now in the distance it carried. And then Encarnacion hit a little bouncer into right field, and Belliard walked. 3 men on. The curve over the middle. Cedeno, nice pickup, but he won't get it. He got to it, but Miles was too fast for him. Pujols in to score the tying run, and the inning goes on. It is 3-3.
Well, for me, this is a play, and I'm sure Dusty Baker would agree right now, that's got to be made. You got a guy hitting from the right side of the batter's box. It's a two-hopper up the middle. Another base hit like the others in this inning. You got to get it, and you got to make the throw to first base there. That's just a bad judgment on the part of Cedeno. I think he was trying to protect himself a little bit. 21 errors already on the year. He's got to make that throw to first base and end the inning. He did not do that.
And you see the frustration there for Dusty and in the Cubs dugout. So not only does a run score, an out there ends the inning with the Cubs still leading, but Cardinals have a chance to get more. And Gary Bennett, who's been so hot lately, is up. Looked like as he caught that ball, Rick, he was actually looking at Freddie Bynum as if to make a play at second base. He sort of had his attention diverted. Jeff Weaver on deck. And that's off the glove of Barrett. And another run will score. The Cardinals take the lead.
That's going to be the 10th pass ball of the year on Michael Barrett. That leads all catchers in the National League. I think a lot of it has come from the frustration that he's had to look at being behind home plate this year with the Cubs. This inning should have been over with. It's not. There it is. He just overthrows a fastball, missed his location, and then missed the glove of Barrett and creates another run for the Cardinals.
Now they're going to walk Bennett intentionally and instead go after Jeff Weaver, although Weaver is definitely not a sure out as a hitter. There's ball 4, so the bases are loaded again. 2 runs are in an inning that might well have been over with nobody scoring. And David Ardsma, the right-hander, has started to warm up now in the Cubs bullpen. Been a real busy night so far for Les Walrond. The Cardinals have 6 hits against him. He has issued 3 walks, 1 intentional. And that's all within the span of these first 3 innings.
He hasn't been that bad.
The defense has let him down.
He could have very easily been into the top of the 4th inning right now with only 1 run allowed.
1 ball, no strikes to Weaver, who fouls one off to the right.
But this is just really more of the same for what Dusty Baker has watched this year and the Cub fan has had to endure. 13th in the National League in ERA. That's not what they expected. 11th in team defense.
That's through. Base hit. Belliard scores, and here comes Miles right behind him. And it's turned into a big inning. Jeff Weaver with a 2-run single. 4 runs have scored in the inning. 6-3 St. Louis.
John, you called it. He can help himself offensively. He can put the ball in play. He walked, that being Weaver in his first at bat in the 2nd inning. With the intentional walk to Bennett, he gets an opportunity to swing the bat. And he's been watching that. He saw what Encarnacion did. He saw what Preston Wilson did. He saw what Rolen did going to the opposite field. He does that, and it ends the night for Les Walrond.
Dusty Baker out to take the ball from Walrond. And his first major league start after all of those years in the minor leagues does not turn out well. Ardsma coming in. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell. I'm John Miller with Rick Sutcliffe and Bonnie Bernstein. Joe Morgan at the Little League World Series will be back next Sunday night. And the Cardinals broke through against the rookie left-hander Les Walrond with a 4-run 3rd inning rally to lead 6-3.
John, I think he deserves another start because he really threw the ball well. He didn't have a lot of help defensively, but take a look at the approach put together by the Cardinals. Look at what they're doing. To the opposite field and right back up the middle. And I've got to give their hitting coach, Hal McRae, a lot of credit. There's the ground ball by Pujols. He's really the only one that tried to pull the baseball. Look at that. There's a curveball just chopped into the ground. They're staying back. They're letting the ball get deep, and they're just playing pepper to the right side of that infield. That's a great approach there. And you know, if you're Walrond, the key the next time out, you got to pitch in.
You saw Hal McRae there. The hitting instructor is Preston Wilson with a big swing and a miss against David Ardsma. Walren threw 27 pitches in this inning. 2 of the hits in this inning were infield hits. The pass ball. So it was not well supported.
And then the indecision on the part of Cedeno. That was a routine ground ball to short. You throw the guy out at first and in the inning. And that kid, to me, has just lost a lot of his confidence.
David Arnsma, former first-round draft choice of the San Francisco Giants. And he, another young guy, not a whole lot of big league experience, who has struggled at times with the Cubs this year. Hard-throwing right-hander. Preston Wilson has a single, a steal, and a run scored, and he's lined out to left. The 2 base runners, Bennett at second, Jeff Weaver, who just hit a 2-run single, at first, and a foul off to the left. But I like the little string he put together of all their base hits. It wasn't like a couple guys launched him into the second deck, and guys were hitting shots into the gaps and whatnot. A real professional approach by this lineup, and the Cardinals have a lot of guys who know what they're doing up there.
Well, and Hal McRae knew what he was doing up there. He was a big RBI guy the same kind of way.
Juan Pierre comes in, and Preston Wilson retired. 8-man back. They get 4 runs, leave 2. Now 6-3 Cardinals as we move to the 4th. Cubs Cardinals, those great Midwest rivals since going back to the 19th century. Cardinals lead this ball game 6-3 as they try to sweep the Cubs here. And tonight being the final meeting of the season.
What's up with that?
Between these clubs.
Get that.
This is their 19th game against each other, and we're not at the end of August. So here's a curveball now from Jeff. So maybe 19's not enough if they use them all up before the end of August, right? Maybe they should play 27, 28 times.
Well, shouldn't they play in September, these two teams?
I think so. Get me the schedule maker on the phone.
So you got pull with that. It wouldn't do me any good.
No, I have no pull. I'm just sort of all sound and no fury. You know, it's like
you have a lot of
big hat, no cattle.
You just had a Hall of Famer walk in here to say hello to you. Red Shaney's came in. How about that, huh?
Yeah.
He didn't come in to, he doesn't drop in on us on Monday night very often.
Red had never heard of Rick Sutcliffe, but because Rick pitched after Red had retired. But
well, he was still around as he is now as a coach when we were here. But I wasn't very good.
You didn't make any kind of an impression on him.
I got Joe Torre fired. How'd I do?
So the count now 3-1 to Matt Merton, leading it off against Weaver. Long time to go in this game yet, and Weaver struggled, gave up 3 runs the first 2 innings. Ronnie Cedeno on deck, and then the pitcher spot due up third. And that is ball 4. Well, the great Cardinal slugger Albert Pujols got tied to the great Babe Ruth from another era in a very unique way earlier in the springtime, and Bonnie Bernstein's got more on that.
You know, we're so used to seeing Albert plastered all over the sports pages, John, but now he's going GQ on us. In next month's issue, they examined this study that Pujols took at Wash U in the spring right here in St. Louis to basically determine why he's such a great hitter, very much like tests administered to the Babe back in 1921. There was a whole series of tests that looked at tasks like bat speed and reaction time and eye-hand coordination, and no surprise, you know what the results yielded? Yeah, Pujols is on the border of being superhuman, very much like Babe Ruth, which is all fine and well and very flattering to Albert, but he said, I'll be the first person to say I'm not putting myself in that category.
And Juan Encarnacion with a spectacular catch on a would-be base hit by Ronnie Cedeno, and the Cardinals continue to illustrate the differences between themselves and the Cubs this year as they make another spectacular defensive play.
Yeah, this is Jim Edmonds like right here. Look at the all-out effort right there. Weaver had put himself in the hole. He walked the leadoff guy, an opportunity to score more runs. And look at that. I mean, what a terrific effort there. He had a great jump, and Well, Weaver's getting all of the help he could possibly ask for defensively. That possibly saved a run, and Rolen saved a big inning.
David Archman showing bunt, taking. Ball one. The ball got away from Bennett. Not far enough for Merton to move up. So, Bonnie, you're talking about these tests. I mean, and Albert was almost superhuman.
Yeah, 99th percentile on a good chunk of them.
And, I mean, what kind of tests?
Well, the one that he was most intrigued by, there was this finger tapping test, and he basically had 60 seconds. Get back to it in a second, John.
The bunt, and Albert fields it, flips the ball to the second baseman belly yard covering for the put out. The sacrifice has worked. Out number 2. So a toe tap, a finger tapping.
Yeah, he had 60 seconds to see how many times he could tap this little device. And to give you a sense of how far above the rest of us he did it 68 times, which is when in the 99th percentile. You know how many times the average human could do it? Me and you, and I don't know where we categorize Sut. 24. 24 compared to Pujols' 68. So I don't know if that entirely explains why he hits all the monster home runs he does, but it's interesting to say the least.
They didn't like test his bat speed, or?
Yeah, they did. Bat speed was one of them. There were a whole series of tests. There was another one where he had to place pegs and holes as many as he could within a finite time span, and a bunch of eye-hand coordination stuff. Really intriguing stuff.
Here's Juan Pierre, and he takes a strike.
Fast twitch muscles, I guess.
The fast twitch.
I just know one thing. He's some kind of strong. We play a lot of golf in the winter, the Nike baseball trip, and he can set a pitching wedge down there and hit it 170 yards without a whole lot of effort.
Well, I mean, how did he do against the Babe in the bat speed test? That's the third. There's Rolen. And he throws out Juan Pierre, and the inning is over. One man left. Now it'll be Duncan, Pujols, and Rolen again. The 3 big sluggers coming up for the Cardinals, who lead 6-3. We're at Busch Stadium, the home of the Cardinals in St. Louis. The Cardinals lead their rivals, the Chicago Cubs, 6-3, as we go to the last of the 4th inning. Cardinal fan who trying to stay cool in the humidity. Chris Duncan, the rookie outfielder, who has done so well, especially down the stretch. The more he's played, the better he's hit, it seems. 1 ball, no strikes. Albert Pujols on deck. He had a big rip there against Archman, fouling one back.
He's had some big rips against every right-handed pitcher on the mound this year. 200 against the left-handed pitching. Struggled with the 0 for 2 in his first 2 at-bats, but this is where he has done a lot of damage. Co-player of the week just this past week.
And that's out of play off the left field line. 1 ball and 2 strikes. He might have had a home run back in the 3rd inning with a drive deep into left center, but he hit it to the real big part of the yard out there to the right of the 375 marker. If he'd been at Wrigley Field, I think he would have had himself a home run.
No question.
You see out by that Amaran sign out there. Pretty good shot, but it stayed in the yard. Now 2-2 to Chris Duncan. Albert Pujols on deck, and I'm still wondering about how Albert fared against the Babe.
You're wanting that home tap that thing and see where you'd be right now. No, I know what you're wanting to do. Just start tapping your talkback button, Rick.
Well, I'm impressed because he did it 68 times and the average is 24. Oh, caught at second base by Freddie Bynum. That ball was just clobbered by Chris Duncan. So Bonnie, you got the bat speed, Albert Pujols versus the Babe.
I do have the numbers, but you have to take something into consideration, the weight of the bat, okay? So Pujols swung the bat 87 miles an hour. Babe Ruth in 1921 did it 75 miles an hour. Pujols' bat, though, weighs 31.5 ounces. Guess how much Babe's bat weighed?
50?
Higher.
Wow.
54. How do you swing a 54-ounce bat? It's crazy. What were they thinking back then?
So the bat company didn't do all the...
It seemed to work.
All that lathe work they do in the bats now. They just went chopped the tree down and handed it to the Babe.
You know, both of them big, strong guys, power hitters. Kids love them. Fans love them.
will reach back out of play off to the right. 1 ball, 1 strike to Albert, who has lined hard the center, and then he hit a little top roller and beat it out for an infield hit in the 3rd, and that started a 4-run rally. Albert Pujols, who early on in his career has already established himself up against some of the greatest ever to play the game. That will stay in the yard. Left center, Matt Merton, and Pujols is out, number 2. 2 men gone. Now here's Scott Reese for the Sports Center 30 at 30 update.
Okay, John, Tiger Woods wins his 4th straight tournament, the Bridgestone Invitational. He does it on the 4th playoff hole, beating Stewart Cink. 52nd career victory for Tiger, matches Byron Nelson for 5th all-time. And the Dallas Morning News reporting Terrell Owens got fined $9,500 for missing a team meeting and a rehab session and being late to another team meeting. Details on SportsCenter after baseball and constantly on your mobile ESPN. Guys.
All right, Scott, thanks. And Scott Rolen takes ball 1 from David Archman, the reliever. In for the Cubs. We're in the 4th inning. The Cardinals lead the Cubs 6-3. The Cardinals know they can gain ground on second place Cincinnati. The Reds lost today in San Francisco. Rolen pops a foul out of play. Off to the right. 1 ball, 1 strike. Scott Rolen hit a single to right to knock in the Cardinals' first run. But Jock Jones aggressively trying to charge the ball and maybe make a play at the plate on Preston Wilson. Missed the ball. And Scott Rolen kept running until he scored. So we got credit for only a single and an RBI, but Cardinal fans are going with the inside the park home run.
Yeah, it was just as exciting. They didn't know how the ruling was going to come out at the time, but he has created 2 runs offensively, and he's kept at least 2 runs from scoring on the defensive side. So what a player.
Yeah. Jose Oquendo waved him in on his inside the park single and error. That's strike 3 called on the inside. And Archman retires the side in order. The big hitters. 5th inning. Aramis Ramirez coming up second. This telecast is available in high definition on ESPN HD. Presented by Hitachi. And in high definition, this is John Miller along with Rick Sutcliffe, Bonnie Bernstein. Sunday Night Baseball now in our 17th season. Cardinals Cubs, their final game of this 2006 season. Freddie Bynum has had 2 singles and a run batted in, facing Jeff Weaver, who throws him a changeup too low. Weaver gave up 3 runs and 4 hits in the first 2 innings, and he has walked 3 in the game. Weaver's a guy who throws strikes, and he has not walked more than 3 in any of his last 59 starts. So those early walks were very unusual for him, uncharacteristic of him.
I think part of it has to do with, the adjustment he's making with the arm angle. But there's a guy right there, Dave Duncan, who has made some adjustments with a lot of pitchers, just like Weaver, and had a ton of success with. The first guy you think of, obviously Hall of Famer Dennis Eckersley.
Curveball outside.
They put him in the closer's role. Dave Stewart bouncing around in the minor leagues, all of a sudden a 20-game winner. Bob Welch, 27 wins 1 year. Scott Sanderson, Storm Davis. I mean, the list just goes on and on. Darryl Kyle.
Storm Davis once won 19 games in Oakland with Tony LaRussa and Dave Duncan.
And what makes Duncan so good, I talked with Tony LaRussa about this a lot, is that, he's the complete package. With some guy, it might be adding a pitch, like it was the splitter with Dave Stewart. With a guy like Jeff Suppan, it has to be the pitching report, the game plan, because his stuff is not that great. He's got to know when to throw the right pitch and where to throw it. Or with Duncan, you get the whole package, the mechanics, the energy, being positive all the time.
And the fastball strikes him out. First time that Bynum has been retired.
Let's take a look at what he talked about before the game with us, with Jeff Weaver, and the arm angle. This is the fastball on the left side here. Take a look at how high it is released from. That's the two-seam fastball to get the sink. Look at the breaking ball. Look at how much lower the arm angle is on the right. A good hitter can pick up that difference in the release point. It's okay to drop down with your release point once in a while, but the key is to consistently throw each of those pitches out of the same release point. He's got to get his arm back up a little bit more on the breaking ball. When he does that and they look like each other, this guy could have the success that he's had in the past.
Aramis Ramirez, the hitter. And the count is a ball and a strike. Ramirez struck out at a big spot with runners at second and third and nobody out in the first inning. And then he, with two men on in the second inning, hit a line drive on a broken bat that Scott Rolen turned into an amazing catch. So Ramirez is 0 for 2. Cubs home run and RBI leader. A ball and a strike as he backs away.
You know, another thing David Eckstein was saying before the game about Weaver was when he's been good, you know, and there's been a lot of those times his tempo has been better. Just the time in between pitches where he gets the ball, he gets right back up on the mound, and he's waiting on the hitter rather than the other way around.
So Jeff Weaver, so the stuff is there.
Yes.
Could be a big winner. And you could have said that about Weaver almost any year of his career. And that breaking ball popped up. Albert Pujols out number 2.
I'll tell you, John, the guy that got me excited for the Cardinals before the game, though, was Mark Mulder. After batting practice, asking him how things went, how he felt. He said, you know what, he said, I lost that game myself. He says, I had so much adrenaline going. I was so excited to be back that I kept drifting. I didn't give myself a chance to make good pitches. He says he's healthy. He feels great. He looked good swinging the bat with his shoulder. And, you know, I look for good things out of him the rest of the way.
Well, the Cardinals need it, that's for sure. And that game, his first game back, did not work well at all. And there's some talk, although nobody in the Cardinals has come out and said as much in public. There's talk that, you know, if the start on Tuesday against Florida goes as badly as the last one, you know, they may go to plan B.
I don't expect that to happen. I expect him to pitch well.
Jock Jones deep into right field, and goodbye. Over the wall and over the bullpen and off somebody's hands in the first row of the bleachers. Number 22 for Jock Jones. 6-4 St. Louis.
He walked his first time up, and John, you mentioned he doesn't do that very often, but this he does do. 22nd time he's left the yard. 64 RBIs now in the year, and you know, he keeps going out there. He keeps playing hard. Yeah, look at that there. Fastball didn't quite get back to the plate. He was looking in. Got the extension.
One hopper to third by Michael Barrett, and Rolen throws him out. Cubs get one. Now, between innings, we're going to speak with the general manager of the Cincinnati Reds. And the guy's been very busy in an acquisitive mode lately. Wayne Krivsky, GM of the Reds, when we come back. There's a young Cardinal fan enjoying the action. The St. Louis Cardinals try to sweep the Chicago Cubs, have a 6-4 lead as we go to the last of the 5th inning at the new Busch Stadium. John Miller, Rick Sutcliffe, Bonnie Bernstein with you. And in a moment we'll be joined via telephone by the general manager of the Cincinnati Reds. The Reds who, for one day anyway, more or less caught the Cardinals in the standings in the National League Central Division. They were in a virtual tie for first place. But the Cardinals with a chance now to move 3 games ahead just 3 days later. And they will if they can sweep the Cubs here. Ball 1 from David Ardsma to Juan Encarnacion, who's hit 2 singles to right field. He chases a slider and doesn't get it. And it is a ball and a strike. The standings in the Central Division, the Cardinals at the moment by 2.5 over the Reds. While the Cardinals have won the first 2 games here against the Cubs this weekend, the Reds dropped 3 in a row in San Francisco after beating the Giants on Thursday night to move into a basic tie with St. Louis at the top in the Central Division. For much of the summer until Thursday, the Reds were better known as the leaders in the National League wild card division. And as such, Wayne Krivsky, the general manager, got very busy determining before the trading deadline that their bullpen was not going to get them into October, and he made some very aggressive trades to fortify that bullpen. 2-2 the count to Encarnacion, and he is down on strikes, one away. So Wayne Krivsky down in Chattanooga. Welcome to Sunday Night Baseball.
Thanks, John. Good to be with you.
All right, so you made those big moves before the trading deadline a month ago. Now you've got, 4 days left. Are the Reds looking to make more moves to further solidify this? So you lost Eddie Guardado, who'd become your closer.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. Eddie's on a rehab right now, and we're hopeful of getting him back sometime in September. But until he gets back, it'll be bullpen by committee there at the end.
All right, so as Belliard flies out to the right fielder, Jock Jones, can we anticipate more Reds wheeling and dealing here in the next few days?
Well, as you know, John, it's a little tougher now in terms of the players that have gotten through waivers and that type of thing. So we'll be looking like the rest of the teams are and see if there's some type of move we could make that bolsters our club a little bit. But it's a little more difficult this time of year, as you well know.
Wayne, even though you don't play the Cardinals anymore this season, you've had a lot of success in your own division. You got to look forward to the last month of the season.
Yeah, we play. We're on a West Coast trip now, and then we come home and play 2 of those West Coast teams at our place, in addition to Pittsburgh, and then we play the Cubs at 4 games at home, and we finish up with the Marlins and the Pirates on the road.
Well, Wayne Krivsky, I know you've been a busy man up till now. I mean, you've sort of torn up that Reds ball club and shuffled the dice and started over again. And are they where you want them to be right now?
Well, we're happy with the year, John. We're certainly not satisfied. I mean, everyone's working very hard to get to the postseason, and winning the division would be great. Winning the wild card would be fine as well. So we felt like we had to make some moves after the month leading up to the All-Star break, going 9-20. We just weren't getting it done with that club the way it was constituted. So we had to make some changes. We feel a lot better about the team right now.
Well, Wayne Krivsky, congratulations on the improvement of that Cincinnati ball club this year, and we wish you well the rest of the way.
Okay, John. Thanks a lot.
Wayne Krivsky via telephone from Chattanooga. We'll be back from St. Louis, presented by Taco Bell. And now the Cubs here in the 6th inning. The big crowd, another sellout crowd. Cardinal fans have sold out this new yard more often than not. Their home attendance is closing in on 2.7 million. And they still have 19 more dates here at home after tonight. 1 strike to count to John Mabry. Now he takes the ball from Jeff Weaver. Derrek Lee has been missing most of the year from the Cubs batting order. Actually, he started the year with the ball club, and he was hitting just like Derrek Lee, who had the huge year last season. And they were winning. They started out 9-5 with Lee leading the way. Then he got hurt, and he was like the irreplaceable man. They just collapsed after that. He got back for a time, but was not the same. He really could not swing the bat with that same power because of that wrist injury. And there's Pujols to Weaver for out number 1. Bonnie Bernstein with more on Derrek Lee and when he's coming back.
You know, it's interesting. A lot of people assume, John, that he went back on the DL because the wrist was still bothering up at the plate. That was partially the problem. The other problem, he said, was a couple of plays on defense. He fell and he had to put his right arm down to brace himself, and his wrist just didn't have the strength to withstand that. And that really kind of started causing some of that, what they call post-traumatic inflammation. He said the other thing is, too, that he didn't give himself enough time to rehab. As soon as the wrist came out of the cast, he started working on it again. This time around, second time on the DL, he didn't do anything for 2 weeks other than treatment, and he said it made a world of difference. He took BP the entire week this week and told me he's pretty much back at 100% with the exception of, you know, some nagging arthritis, but that's not going to go away anytime soon.
All right, well, I mean, this is a guy that is fun to watch because he not only has become an outstanding hitter, an elite kind of a hitter, one of those guys who just continue to get better and better and better the longer he played, but he's always been one of the best defensive players as well. And in fact, when we were there a month ago in Chicago, when the Mets were there for Sunday Night Baseball, you just see before the ball game tonight, he took some batting practice and
hit some long home runs.
He hit some shots. He certainly looked ready. But he made a play against the Mets where he had to make a dive, and that aggravated that wrist injury, just as Bonnie was talking about it. And he was not able to play in our Sunday night game. And finally, they just said, well, we better just shut him down. This is not working out.
Well, you can see why. You know, I mean, he would come back to you. So he had never been on the disabled list before. He'd averaged 159 games each of the last 6 years. And he wanted to you knew he wanted to get back by September the 6th on his birthday, because he's hit a home run in each of the last 3 years on that day. It helped to play at home against Pittsburgh. But Dusty Baker talking about, we not only miss him in the clubhouse, on the field, we miss his defense, his offense. Talking about we miss his speed. I mean, Derrek Lee has become the complete player.
Matt Merton, and he's battling it out here with Jeff Weaver. The count, 3 balls, 2 strikes with 1 out. And the ball dude had a hard time on that one.
You know, right when Scott Rolen makes it look so easy, you get a moment to take a look at how tough it can be. There it is down the line. Chris Spire taking a look, and what a great effort there, though. I mean, you got to applaud that.
Right through the middle. That's quite an at bat there by Matt Merton. Very tenacious. And then he gets one to hit and singles to center field with 1 out. And Ronnie Cedeno will come up now. Hit number 6 for the Chicago Cubs, who trail 6-4. Both bullpens are busy. In the Cardinal bullpen, that's Josh Hancock, the right-hander, as it's already been kind of a long night for Weaver, working in the 6th inning. He's allowed 4 runs.
Well, they're a little bit short tonight in the bullpen. We were told by Dave Duncan before the game, Jason Isringhausen is not available tonight. The shoulder's a little bit cranky. They've got an off day tomorrow, and with him not having to go until Tuesday night, they feel like he could use that rest. So they're going to have to try to extend Weaver and everybody else into a different spot than normal.
So Michael Wirtz, the right-hander, heating up in the Cubs bullpen. The pitcher's spot is up next. And Cubs, who got a runner at first and Cedeno at the plate, have Buck Coates out on deck.
Love that.
1 hot rolling over to second. There's 1. Belliard back to first. 2, a double play. Wow. And now the Cardinals are putting on a tour de force on defense. They lead it 6-4.
ESPN's Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Taco Bell. Brought to you by National. Green means go.
And some families out here, as always, at Busch Stadium in downtown St. Louis. The Cardinals lead the Cubs 6-4. On a night when the rookie, 29-year-old Les Walren made his first major league start, and his defense betrayed him. But although the Cardinals had a little bit of a shaky first inning, they might have liked to have played a little bit better defensively. Since then, they put on a show, especially Scott Rolen, but both Rolen and Belliard combining on a sensational double play to end the Cubs' 6th inning. Now Michael Wirtz, the 27-year-old right-hander, has come in from the bullpen, replacing David Artsman, who pitched 2 1/3 innings perfectly, retired 7 in a row. Gary Bennett, the hitter, he has grounded a short and been walked intentionally. Michael Wirtz is in his 3rd stint with the Cubs this year. He's pitched well lately. Last year he was in 75 games in the big league, but this year started slowly and spent time in the minors.
He was outstanding last year. Coming out of that bullpen, all those appearances, 6-2, an ERA of 3.81 a year ago.
And ball 3, too high. The pitcher, Jeff Weaver, is out on deck. Here's Weaver, who knocked in the 2 runs by which the Cubs are trailing this game right now. Weaver hit a 2-run single to cap a 4-run third-inning rally to make it a 6-3 game. Now it is 6-4. Jock Jones hit a home run in the 5th for the Cubs. And you might say, you know, if you're a Cardinal fan especially, how come Weaver's still in there? But I think you pointed it out, the fact that they want to give Isringhausen a couple of days here. They could use Weaver to go deeper into this game. Well, that's ball 4 to Gary Bennett, second straight time that he has walked. Now here is our Lee Jeans game track. Scott Rolen. A single to right that knocked in a run and turned into an inside the park home run, although not scored that way. Then Rolen made an incredible catch on that broken bat liner by Ramirez. And Pujols started the big inning with a soft ground ball, and then they kept hitting base hits to right field. Encarnacion, Miles over the middle, and then Jeff Weaver a 2-run single to right. That knocked Walrond out of the game. Weaver showing bunt, pops it foul off to the right over toward Preston Wilson, who's on deck. Now Weaver over to speak directly, or to be spoken to directly, by Jose Oquendo, the third base coach. In the first 2 games of this series, the Cardinals scored only 4 runs total. 2 Friday and 2 yesterday, and yet won both games. Well, they pulled the bat back on that hard slider called strike 2.
You know, and that's the reason Tony LaRussa said that he had Preston Wilson leading off tonight. So what's it going to hurt? You know, I'm not shaking things up. I'm just tweaking it a little bit. Well, Preston with the base hit in the first inning, stolen base, eventually scored a run. And now he's in the on-deck circle, hoping that Weaver can get the bunt down, and maybe he could drive in a run tonight.
Weaver swings away here and taps a foul. Still 0-2 to Jeff Weaver. Now Oquendo's going to come down and speak to Weaver again.
Somebody missed the sign.
What does that tell you when the guy comes down to speak to you twice?
That tells you that it's going to cost you some money in kangaroo court. You don't miss signs.
To the count to Weaver. Now he's showing bunt again. And he bunts and just fouled that one, so he is out, strike 3.
Well, the reason he's still in the ball game and going to go back out for the top of the 7th is because of his defense. Look at Pujols going down the line over the back catch. Take a look at Rolen. I mean, that's the play of the game right there. That got him out of the inning. Encarnacion, look at this. Another big inning for the Cubs, but because of defense, it didn't happen. Look at how quick, look at how strong both of those throws get off just in time. Pujols with the big stretch. Look at the energy there. Look at the stretch. I don't know whether he's out or not. He was called out, and that was a defensive play Weaver needed.
I think on the road, maybe the Cardinals don't get that call.
This crowd can influence some umpires.
Yeah.
Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah.
They get loud, and every now and then they get what they want.
Preston Wilson. And maybe that's unfair to say about the umpires, but hey, I think the umpires, they can get caught up in things just like anybody else. They're human.
Yeah, there is.
To the count to Wilson.
That's one thing that's always been that way since I can remember anyway. The baseball fan here in St. Louis, knowing the game, applauding the hustle for both teams. The great plays, the great players.
Well, when we did our open to the telecast tonight, we did it down in the stand.
That was fun.
And
that was fun.
And we met Cubs fans and Cardinal fans. And a lot of times they were here together. So it's a rivalry, but it seems to be, they seem to have a lot of fun with it. The Little League World Series championship game presented by Kellogg's Frosted Flakes between Columbus, Georgia and Kawaguchi City, Japan will take place tomorrow night at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific on ESPN2. And it will be available in high definition on ESPN2 HD. Kawaguchi City is seeking to be the 7th team from Japan to win the Little League World Series. And Columbus is seeking to be the 2nd team from Georgia to win. Marietta, Georgia won it in 1983. Gucci City, Japan. They're 5-0. They've scored 31 runs. Look at that. They've hit 11 home runs in the tournament. Columbus, Georgia is 4-1. It'll be tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN2 and ESPN2 HD.
That's why you lost your partner. That stuff has been so exciting. Every clubhouse you go into in the big leagues has had it on throughout the tournament, and Hall of Famer. It's that important that you take the big boy to the big game.
Chris Duncan, the hitter, 2 down. Duncan hit the ball hard his last 2 times and got nothing to show for it. And the changeup from Wirtz misses. 2-1 the count.
I just want to personally thank Joe Morgan for the great suite that I have here in St. Louis.
I talked to Joe tonight at his hotel there in Williamsport.
I don't think he's got the same accommodations that I've got here.
They probably, they probably didn't know Joe was coming, or they might have built a new hotel there before he came. He wasn't complaining about anything.
And again, thanks for. There were some really older bottles of wine waiting on me.
Yeah, Yeah, they couldn't find any new bottles apparently.
No. But it tasted all right, that old stuff.
That's a base hit to right field for Chris Duncan, and it keeps the inning going as Bennett goes to second for Albert Pujols.
Joe was saying he had a little trouble with room service. What was that he told me?
Yeah, a little trouble with room service in that it didn't exist. When you've been in the big leagues as long as Joe has, that comes as kind of a shock.
So what does he do? What's he? Huh?
He went out and got a burger somewhere. Went to the.
He's watching Albert Pujols right now. You know that.
He's watching Albert eating his French fries. 2 on, 2 out. Albert is 1 for 3. And against the team that has shut him down more than any other team in baseball this year. Albert, earlier this week, at Shea Stadium, no less, against the Mets, who have been the best team in the National League, Albert had 2 homers and 7 runs batted in. He drove in all of the Cardinal runs in that game. Over at third, Ramirez to Bynum at second for the force out on Duncan. And the inning is over. Albert versus the Cubs. It's just not working. On to the 7th, 6-4 St. Louis. Sunday night baseball from St. Louis in the new yard of the St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals lead the Cubs 6-4 here in the final meeting of the season between the 2 ball clubs, and the Cardinals with a chance to sweep them and move 3 games up, and they kind of didn't get it right here until just recently against the Cubs, who were beating up on the Cardinals most of the season. They won their first 7 games at Wrigley Field against the Cardinals. It was not until they were there the last time that the Cardinals finally beat the Cubs at Wrigley. Here's Buck Coates, the pinch hitter. Buck Coates, who's 24 years old, and on 1 pitch, the Fort Benning, Georgia native, grounds out. So I'm pretty sure Buck Coates was rooting that team from Georgia on in the Little League World Series.
Buck will learn that when you first get to the big leagues, you got to take a couple of pitches. We got a lot of nice things to say about the kid, and swing at the first pitch like that, it's tough on us.
Roberto Novoa up in the bullpen. He's already gone. He's forgotten. He's out of my head completely now. Juan Pierre is up after the first guy made an out. Cubs just used a pinch hitter, one of their left-handed guys. And Pierre takes a called strike from Jeff Weaver.
Well, this is his spot right here, Pierre. I mean, this is what he was brought to Chicago for. He's got to find a way to get on base, and
that's true. Base hit. And Pierre is on base for the 3rd time in the game. He's had 2 hits and a walk. Juan Pierre, and Juan Pierre with the Cubs, and on paper his numbers look pretty good, although not the kind of a year that the Cubs were hoping to have with Juan Pierre. More on Juan Pierre. Here's Bonnie Bernstein.
You might not like his numbers, John, but there's no denying that Juan Pierre is fleet of foot. But even he wouldn't have imagined his speed would have gotten him props from Jay-Z. That's right, the hip-hop star has a rap in Beyonce's new song, Deja Vu. And the line where Pierre's in it, he says, I used to run bass like Juan Pierre, now I run the bass, hi-hat, and the snare. I was going to try to rap that, but I know I'd lose my job. Well, I was kind of curious why Pierre, of all players, so I called Jay-Z's peeps. And Jay said he remembers seeing Pierre back in 2003 when he was still with the Marlins. Florida was playing the Yankees in the World Series. He said, I remember Pierre round the bases like a track star, and there are a lot of fast guys in the league, but very few who could beat my Yankees. So there you have the rest of the story. For the record, you think Pierre is blasting that in the clubhouse, but he says, I don't want to toot my own horn. No music, pun intended.
Well, that's for sure. He made quite an impression right away in that World Series against the Yankees. As the first batter in the first game of the World Series, he bunted for a hit and kind of changed that whole World Series right then and there. Jeff Weaver retires for the night. Adam Wainwright, young, hard-throwing right-hander with great stuff, comes in to pitch. The runner at first, 1 out. Cardinals 6, Cubs 4 as we go to the top of the 7th. The Cardinals, who have a 2.5 game lead over the Reds in the Central Division. Right at the moment, after the Reds lost today in San Francisco, and there is a 25-year-old, or soon to be 25-year-old, Adam Wainwright, who had been in the Braves farm system, and he was acquired by the Cardinals in the J.D. Drew trade. And this guy's got great stuff, Rick. He comes in to face Freddie Bynum, and there goes Juan Pierre. And the throw down is, well, there was no need really for a throw. Pierre had a huge jump and steals his 45th base of the year.
Bennett had absolutely no chance right there, but let's go back and take a look at this stolen base here. Look at the jump. I mean, he's already halfway there before the ball got to Bennett. But, John, just like you said, you want to know why the Cardinals didn't make any big moves at the trading deadline? Because they wanted to keep this guy. This is a power arm, former #1 pick with the Braves. It would have taken him and Reyes, another 24-year-old, to get Soriano. And they just didn't want to give up that.
Reyes, who has been very impressive back in the minor leagues now, but he was up there for a time right after Mulder got hurt. And especially at the beginning, he was very, very impressive. The count goes to 2-0 to Freddie Bynum, who's had 2 hits tonight, 2 singles and a run batted in. He's also stolen a base. Here's Mark Mulder, scheduled to go on Tuesday against the Florida Marlins. Mulder gave up 9 earned runs in 3 innings on Wednesday at Shea Stadium.
You know, it reminds me a lot of, though. Remember when David Wells came off the DL for Boston that first time out? It just didn't look right. Didn't think it was going to work. Well, he has been terrific since, and that's what Tony LaRussa is hoping will happen to Mark Mulder.
Mulder, a proven commodity, big winner in years past. And that is too low now. 3-0 the count to Bynum. Now the big guy, Aramis Ramirez, is on deck. Mulder, by the way, is going to go to Nashville tomorrow to meet his parents and his younger brother, John Mulder, who is scheduled to return from a deployment as an attack helicopter pilot in Iraq. Mulder has not seen his brother John since last August when he first left for Iraq. There's Mark Mulder, so that'll be a big day for tomorrow, and then he'll come back and make that start against Florida on Tuesday. After what should be an emotional, to say the least, reuniting with his brother John and his mom and dad tomorrow. Ball 4 to Bynum, so 2 men on with only 1 man out. And here comes Aramis Ramirez, and now Dave Duncan out to talk to Wainwright. So Duncan out to talk to the young right-hander who has put the possible tying runs on base now with the big home run and RBI man of the Cubs this year.
Take a look at Weaver here. There's the slider that he got Ramirez on. You can see the change up there. Not a good location, but nonetheless had him out in front. The big curveball catching the outside corner. And, of course, the sinking fastball getting the ground ball. I thought that was the key to him tonight. The defense was great behind him. But you know what? He used all of his pitches. His tempo was a little bit better. That's the reason he stands with an opportunity to win this game.
Weaver, who gave up 3 runs and 4 hits in the first 2 innings and only 1 run on 3 hits his last 4 and a third. Pierre, the runner at second, is also his responsibility. Bynum at first. And Aramis Ramirez 0 for 3 in the game. Ball 1, so Wainwright is not pitching confidently right now.
This is Juan Pierre. He got the base hit. He took off on the first pitch to steal second. And he is still into the mind of the young pitcher on the mound right now. He's acting like he's going to go to third, whether he is or not. It's got Wainwright right now a little bit out of sync with his delivery.
You got to be careful with this guy, too. There's a fastball in there for a called strike.
And you saw that, John. He didn't even look at the runner that time. I can't look at him. If I look at him, I forget about what I'm supposed to do. Johnson up and throwing. The other left-hander, Randy Flores, has pitched in both of the first 2 games of this series, so I'm sure they'd like to stay away from him.
A ball and a strike. Pierre trying to distract him some more. And back to the screen. The runners will advance. And there goes the ground ball double play opportunity on that wild pitch.
That's all Juan Pierre and what he has done for the teams he's played for in the past. Take a look at this right now. Look at what happened. Take a look at Pierre right there. You see him out there? Oh, watch Wainwright. All of a sudden, he was going to take off and go. He was going to go, but Wainwright, instead of not looking at second, did turn back. I think that got Bennett a little bit out of sync. The location was nowhere near, and both of the runners move up 90 feet.
So now a base hit could tie the game. Aramis Ramirez, 31 homers, 88 batted in, 8th in the league in homers, 10th in the league in RBIs at the start of the day. Ramirez hitting .282 for the year with runners in scoring position. Right to the middle. Now Belliard to first base. What a play! Albert Pujols scooped it out. Pierre scores and Bynum over to third. An RBI for Ramirez, but another sensational play by the Cardinals.
All the way around. It was an outstanding pitch to get the ground ball, but it was headed up the middle. Look at the range on the part of Belliard. In between hop. Strong throw, and then a big stretch on the part of Pujols. If he didn't come up with that throw, both runs would have scored. There would have been another runner in scoring position. Pujols has improved so much on his defense down there at first. I got a feeling with Derrek Lee being hurt, that's your Gold Glove Award winner in the National League at first base.
So Albert Pujols, that used to be the rap on Albert, was a great hitter, but not necessarily very good defensive.
Didn't have a
player.
position. You know, remember the first 4 years he played all over. Now he's going to be a first baseman the rest of his career, and a good one.
Tony LaRussa trying to nurse that 1-run lead now. 6-5 St. Louis. Runner at third, 2 down. And Tyler Johnson, the left-handers, coming in to face the left-handed hitting Jock Jones. Outside the ballpark here in downtown St. Louis, there's the Stan Musial statue honoring the greatest of all the Cardinals, Stan the Man Musial, the great Hall of Famer. And then heading right off and into the ballpark, this beautiful new yard. Fans join Major League Baseball in our efforts to rebuild the Gulf Coast. Support Habitat for Humanity by calling 1-800-HABITAT or by logging on to MLB.com or habitat.org.
When they need our help, too.
And inside the ballpark here in St. Louis, which so far does not seem to favor the hitters. Nobody wanted to come out and say a whole lot about it. But the Cardinals have had 82 home runs on the road and only 59 here. Runner at third, and Tyler Johnson in to pitch. Johnson, who has allowed left-handed hitters only a .213 batting average. He's in here to try to get Jock Jones out and preserve this one-run lead. Tyler Johnson, who is a native Missourian, 25 years old. Little tap. Finally picked up by Aaron Miles, but too late. The game is tied. Tyler Johnson, not quite. Scott Rolen, not just there. And by the time it got to Miles, it was too late. This game is all tied up.
He might have had a play on it, Miles, if he could have come up with it cleanly. It makes you think once again about David Eckstein. There it is. He just missed it. He just missed it. And then he couldn't get the exchange down just right. Pujols has to come off the bag. I mean, he didn't miss it by much. Rolen just barely couldn't get that. And then right there, he had to make the exchange perfectly. Was not able to do that. Not a normal shortstop. And now that will be the end of the night. Another pitching change for the Cardinals.
Tony LaRussa heading out. You got the right-handed hitting Michael Barrett coming up, and there's Jorge Sosa, former Atlanta Brave, started the year in Atlanta. So he'll be coming on now in the 7th inning. 2 runs in for the Cubs. It is 6-6 in the 7th in St. Louis. Michael Barrett will be coming up when we return. Sunday Night Baseball from St. Louis. We're at the new Busch Stadium, and now the Cubs, who've been tough on the Cardinals all year long, have come back to tie this game. They once trailed 6-3. There's a runner at first. Jock Jones as Jorge Sosa takes them on to face Michael Barrett. Barrett pops one up with the first pitch. Scott Rolen. And just like that, the inning is over. But 2 runs score, 1 on a ground out to second, 1 on an infield hit. 6-6. Scott Rolen coming up for the Cardinals.
ESPN's Sunday Night Baseball is presented by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. And in part by Chevy, baseball's #1 fan. Chevy, an American revolution. And Cooper Tires. Don't give up a thing.
Now to the last of the 7th inning, as they've been doing the 7th inning stretch. Singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" here in St. Louis. The Cardinals and Cubs are tied at 6, and here is the big hard thrower, Roberto Novoa, part of a new battery. Novoa, the new pitcher, and Henry Blanco, the new catcher. Scott Rolen pulls a foul down the left field line. The strike 1. Rolen has hit a single on which he circled the bases. It was a single, an RBI, plus an error to Jock Jones, as you see the numbers there for Roberto Novoa. Rolen also has flied out to right and been called out on strikes. Fastball away at 97 miles an hour. Henry Blanco also comes in as they made a double switch. So Novoa is in the #5 spot in the order, where Barrett had been. Blanco in the 9th position. He'll be due up 4th in the 8th inning. It's slider, a high one, lofted to left. Merton, and there is one away. Encarnacion is coming up. Now here is Scott Reese with the SportsCenter 30 at 30 update.
All right, John. Tiger Woods wins his 4th consecutive tournament. The Bridgestone Invitational does it in a playoff hole, the 4th playoff hole, beating Stewart Sink. 52nd career victory, matches Byron Nelson for 5th all time. And congrats to the Detroit Shock. They clinched their 2nd trip to the WNBA Finals by beating Connecticut. Katie Smith with 16 points. They will take on Sacramento in the finals beginning Wednesday, 7:30 on ESPN2. John?
All right, thanks, Scott. And back here at Busch Stadium, the Cardinals and Cubs are battling it out. 6-6. Encarnacion has had 2 hits and a run scored, and make it 3 hits. So Encarnacion has been a 300 hitter for the last 78 games. He's been a big hitter tonight for the Cardinals. They've got 9 hits. He's had 3 of them.
He's also made a real good defensive play earlier in this ball game. And, you know, it's a collective team effort tonight on both of these clubs. This part, we'll take a look with K-zone here. Pretty good pitch. Just a real good approach. The ball elevated a little bit. Not trying to do too much. Just hit it hard right back up the middle and get that lead back for St. Louis.
And Encarnacion hurries back to the bag. Encarnacion has 5 steals this year.
Novoa picked up his first loss yesterday. He allowed a base hit to Preston Wilson, who stole second base and then scored on the base hit off the bat of Gary Bennett. So we're trying to learn from his mistake and keep the runner a little bit closer.
Novoa threw only 12 pitches in that game. You mentioned Flores, the left-hander for the Cardinals, has pitched in each of the first 2 games of the series. 7 pitches thrown yesterday, and he got the win. And he threw 5 pitches, getting the final out of the 8th inning on Friday. There's more to it, I guess, than that. The fact that he went through the whole warm-up process and everything else.
And you don't know how many times that, you know, he was asked to get up and warm up. Dusty's saying he didn't really want to use Bobby Howry tonight. He's already got Scott Air on the disabled list. Bobby Howry's thrown 4 out of the last 5 games. Dusty trying to stay away from him, and Isringhausen will not pitch tonight.
To the right side, Bynum over to second one. Cedeno over to first. A double play. The Cardinals are quickly retired. On to the 8th inning. John Mabry coming up. It is 6-6.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent.
There is an official Major League Baseball. Must have been a foul ball.
Could have been a batting practice thing. They give away a lot of them during BP. Get out to the ballpark early if you can.
Jorge Sosa to John Mabry and a foul back out of play. Sosa came in the 7th inning with 2 down and got Michael Barrett on the first pitch he threw to pop up to end the inning. So we'll take a look at Sosa's numbers for the year. Not very good. 3 wins, 10 losses. He began the year as a starter for Atlanta. Yeah. And was part of the reason for so many problems in that Braves pitching staff. He was 13-3 last year, pitched beautifully. So they naturally put him in the rotation to start this season. This year was just the opposite. Couldn't get anybody out.
He was lucky last year.
Popped up. There was Belliard. And that is out number 1. Albert Pujols chatted with Rick Sutcliffe. Before the ball game, you guys had quite a long chat. Good guy. Let's listen in.
Why is it so important for you to be involved in the community?
Well, coming from the Dominican Republic, I know how poor our country is and our people, but we have that love, you know, just to give anything that we can in the time to our fans, and that's why you see Manny and David Ortiz anytime they go to the Dominican, just spend time with the little kids, because that's the way we are, and I want to show these people that I appreciate the support that they have given me every year.
I tell you what, after tomorrow, the Cardinals play 33 games in 34 days. You'd figure with that rare off day, Mr. Pujols would be relaxing, right? Anything but that. He's got a charity golf tournament in the morning for his church, and then he's opening a restaurant here in St. Louis with all the proceeds going to charity here in the community. That's a man who puts his time and his money when he says he's going to do it.
And how did so many teams fail to draft him, Cardinals included?
I saw him in high school and in junior college. There really wasn't anywhere to put him defensively. He could always hit, but he just didn't look like position-wise he would fit anywhere. Well, he's fit everywhere. He fit at third. He fit in left. He fit in right. Now he's found a home at first.
1-2 the count to Matt Merton. Scott Rolen. He got it. 2 down. Merton is now 1 for 3 with a walk. And here is Ronnie Cedeno. Albert Pujols, since 2001, hitting .331. That's the 3rd best average in the majors in that time. 2nd highest home run totals. And he has had more RBIs than anybody else since he broke in.
How about this? How about a .345 career average with runners in scoring position, and hitting over 400 in that situation this year?
Albert has 107 RBIs, even though he was on the disabled list for one 17-game period. But he's hitting over 400 in those clutch at-bats with runners in scoring position, a runner at second or third or both. So he's been even better in the clutch, as good as he's been all round. Cedeno foul tips it. 0-2.
I remember Darryl Kyle telling me a story about Pujols early in his career. He said Pujols hit a double, and he came in and he said to Darryl Kyle, he said, there's a veteran pitcher on the mound. What's he going to throw to me the next time up? Darryl Kyle said, how do I know? What he said, well, you're a veteran guy. What would you do? I just hit a curveball. Am I going to see another curveball, or is he going to try to, what do you think he's going to try to do? And Darryl gave him his opinion, and he said, you know what? After the conversation, I realized this kid's thinking ahead. He's not sitting back on the double saying, well, I got him. He's trying to get better the next time out. And that started his rookie year.
Albert Pujols, who has been really otherworldly his first 6 years in the big leagues. I mean, you have to start talking about some of the all-time greats when you try to look into the pages of baseball's past and say, well, how many guys have hit that many homers in their first 900 games? And you find out it's just Kiner and Killebrew and Frank Robinson, a very small group of great Hall of Famers. The dive, and Encarnacion has got another one. Somebody call a cop. Ronnie Cedeno just got robbed. That's 2 for Encarnacion tonight. It's 6-6. Last of the 8th coming up. Too bad. Last of the 8th inning. Here is Aaron Miles as the Cardinals back in a 6-6 tie. Last of the 8th inning. This rivalry. The Cubs, an original franchise in the National League, 1876. The Cardinals were born several years later. And they said the reason that they decided to put a team in St. Louis was to create a rivalry with the team in Chicago. That was the point of the team coming here in the very first place.
It worked.
It worked, and it worked in spite of the lack of pennant race battles between these two franchises. You'd figure they'd probably taken each other to the wire over and over and over again, right? Well, that's not the case. There's really only been 3 seasons where they went right down to the end in a tight pennant race. That's in the left field. That's going to be a base hit. The second hit of the game for Aaron Miles. And it will bring up the hot-hitting Gary Bennett, the catcher.
It's things just like that that I'm sure is the main reason Tony LaRussa loves Aaron Miles. I mean, he's just a LaRussa type player, and I mean that as a compliment. I mean, he gives you everything he got. He lays it on the field. He'll play a new position. He'll hit anywhere in the lineup, and every now and then he gets a big hit like he just did.
And so now LaRussa has a decision to make. The pitcher spot up next.
You got a bunt.
Bennett, who'd been hot, he drove in the only runs they scored yesterday in a 2-1 win. But you're looking for the bunt.
I think if you're Dusty, you got to put the sign on with Blanco here to have him throw over. Check to see what's going on there. Jimmy Edmonds got the gloves on, the bat in his hand, trying to hide.
And Scott Spezio, the switch hitter as well. There's the bunt, just as you expected, and it works nicely. Mabry over to Bynum. And over to second base goes Aaron Miles. There is Ullman, the left-hander in Dusty Baker's bullpen, Will Ullman. And Braden Looper getting ready in the Cardinal bullpen. And so, to sort of confound Dusty Baker a little bit, not Jim Edmonds, the veteran slugger, but who's left-handed all the way.
Right.
Makes it all too easy for Dusty to bring in the left-hander. Instead, it is Scott Spezio, the switch hitter. Now, there may be other reasons why Edmonds is not being used here. Let's go down to Bonnie Bernstein.
Well, to be honest, John, I am shocked that Edmonds has a bat in his hand after the conversation we had before the game. He's still dealing with post-concussion syndrome stemming back to June 22nd of this year. He's taken some time off a couple of times, tried to get back in the lineup on Friday, but he told me he could only get through the 7th inning before the blurred vision and the dizziness and the headaches came back. Didn't really plan on Saturday with the exception of one pinch hit at bat. He was out in the cage today, was only able to hit for about 10 minutes, and he came in and he said to me, I can't see the ball, and it's really frustrating for him because you don't really talk about concussions that much in baseball. He says, I know I've had concussions before, but he has no idea whether there's been a cumulative effect that's hitting him now. For that matter, he doesn't know when he's going to get back in the game. He says, all I know is that the more I try to concentrate, the worse it gets.
Well, and that's the same story almost exactly as told by Mike Matheny, the former Cardinal, now with the Giants, suffering from the same malady. And Matheny, as we see Spezio up there with a count of 2-0 now. Spezio's a switch hitter who's hitting .241 left-handed and hitting .329 right-handed. But even Matheny, who may be the toughest man on the earth, said, you know, I probably had several concussions that I never even realized that I never really let fully go away. And there have been studies. There's been a lot of new ground broken in the study of concussions now. And I don't know about Edmonds, but I know Mike Matheny has been to a clinic in Pittsburgh that is specialized in the study of the whole malady. And there were several times where he was ready to tell the Giants, I'm ready, I can play. But they put him through some tests at the clinic. And he said right in the middle of each test, he said, all of a sudden I knew myself, they didn't have to tell me I was not ready. I fooled myself into thinking so.
Well, you gain even more respect for Jim Edmonds now, seeing what he's trying to do, trying to play with all of these problems. 0 for 4 earlier in this series in the game with 4 strikeouts. That's not Jim Edmonds like.
Friday night, struck out 4 times and struck out as a pinch hitter yesterday. As Spezio pops it up. And foul ground taken by Mabry. And that is out number 2. Edmonds injured himself, as Bonnie said back on June 22nd at the new Comiskey Park against the White Sox, making this play.
Watch how hard he hits the ground. There he is, and when he comes down there, that's the problem right there. Almost a whiplash kind of thing. Comes down there, and that's not the problem. That right there is. You can see him immediately grab his head. You could see Taguchi signal for Barry Weinberg, the trainer, to come out.
Slider misses. Ball 1 to Preston Wilson. Preston Wilson with a chance to knock in the go-ahead run here. Looper getting ready in the bullpen to close in the 9th if they can get Aaron Miles home. Wilson is 1 for 4. And that fastball from Novoa called a strike of the inside at 97 miles an hour. Wilson playing in his 8th Cardinals game. And there is Miles, who runs pretty well. He'll be off and running at the crack of the bat with 2 down.
Hey, what, it's kind of amazing to me as I look at the Cardinals right now and them taking over what seems to be the National League Central. They're doing it with 4 guys that were designated for assignment this year. Sosa, who's on the mound, Weaver, who started the game, Preston Wilson, who's at home plate right now, and Jose Vizcaino, just recently acquired.
Vizcaino, who made his Cardinal debut earlier this week in New York and hit a home run in his first game. Now that's a ball inside. Preston Wilson, by the way, hitting over 300 for the year with runners in scoring position.
And Preston Wilson homered in his Cardinal debut.
And there you see 2 for 3 with a homer lifetime against Novoa. And there's a hard slider in the dirt outside. New ball put in play by Adam Dowdy, the plate umpire. 3-1. Chris Duncan would be next, a left-handed hitter. Cardinals have scored every one of their runs tonight after 2 were down. Look out, that got him. 96 miles an hour. Ouch. And now you got the left-handed hitter, the rookie, who is lighting it up. And Dusty Baker's got a left-hander in the bullpen ready for Chris Duncan. So Dusty heads out with 2 men on and 2 men out here in the 8th inning. And he signals for Will Oman. Will Oman coming in to face the rookie Chris Duncan when we come back. Sunday Night Baseball from St. Louis. Now the Lowe's home team advantage, the new Busch Stadium. The Cardinals are hoping that it will work to their advantage for many, many years to come. The capacity, 43,974, which has been beaten tonight by nearly 100 paying customers. A section of the left field area overlaps the old Busch Stadium. So this one was built right alongside the old ballpark. And Hal McRae was telling me he thinks that this is a fair ballpark in terms of home runs. Although some of the Cardinals home run hitters think maybe it's a little too tough. And right out behind left center field there is a pit where once stood the old Busch Stadium, which when they had the All-Star game there the year that ballpark opened, Casey Stengel remarked, and they said, what do you think of this new ballpark? He said, it holds the heat well. Some players who could not play that All-Star game because they had a heat stroke.
This one's a lot more open. That is true.
Get a little more wind through here. All right, here is Chris Duncan. 2 on, 2 out. Will Oman, the pitcher. That ball is hammered foul. Man, he smoked that one, but foul.
Well, the numbers say you got to bring in the left-hander. You got to end the inning right now before Pujols comes up. So that's what Dusty Baker did. Duncan, look at that, only hitting 200 against left-handers. He was 0 for 2 tonight, although, as you said, he hit one ball real well, and he hit that ball real well. He's going to hit left-handers before it's over with.
Will Oman has limited left-handed hitters to only a 167 batting average. 2 men out. In the dirt, nice save there by Henry Blanco to keep the runners right there.
That really was a great save. I mean, there's wild pitches, and then there's pitches like that one that Blanco, I mean, that's what's kept him in the big leagues all these years, keeping throws like that in front of him, keeping the force play in order. Look where his ball bounces. Look at that. I mean, that's a good 1.5 feet in front of home plate. Hits him in the neck, but he doesn't give an inch.
2 on, 2 out. 1-1 on the slider. Strike 2. First time that Duncan has ever faced Will Oman. Six to 6 in the last of the 8th. Oman on the third base side of the pitching slab. Another slider. This time he took it.
You can see why, because he wants that breaking ball on the third base side of home plate. Getting a good toe hold there. Got the open stance. He will eventually close it.
Breeze to the side from Blanco. Miles at second. Wilson at first. Both ready to go in anything. 2 down. Now this slider is skied into left field. Merton, a long run into foul ground, and he lost it. It's a foul ball, and Duncan is still alive.
Merton more so in the lineup because of his offense than defense. Just kind of floated over to this baseball. I mean, if he got there in time, it's a play that he easily could have made, but you see him kind of drifting there, and then all of a sudden the ball just gets away from him. If he goes after that ball a lot harder, a lot quicker, he could have got there, been standing to get the final out. But he does not get there. And once again, the Cubs defensively not getting it done. The Cardinals have all night long.
2-2 the count. Duncan with a new life. And he fights that one off. Back to the screen slider that was up. 2-2.
Oh, this is a great spot to put a young power hitter in, because with the guy standing behind you, that being Albert Pujols, with a 2-2 count, you got to throw a strike. You've got to make something happen. You don't want to go 3-2 walking and then bring the big guy, which would mean the end of the game, to home plate. You got to make it happen right now, if you can, if you're Will Oman.
Fastball struck him out looking. Pujols is left on deck. Still tied at 6 as we go to the 9th inning. Blanco, Pierre, and Bynum. Ramirez will be due 4th when the Cubs come up. Cardinals 6, Cubs 6 as we go to the top of the 9th inning in St. Louis. And Will Oman struck out Chris Duncan looking in quite a battle.
Pretty good at bat right there. Look at that. Crushed down the line. Great play by Blanco to keep it in front of him. Great pitch off the outside corner. There's another great pitch. He didn't get the call there. There's the pop-up that should have been caught. There's another pitch that should have been hit. And then watch Blanco here. Look at how he catches that pitch. So be it a couple inches off the outside corner. He caught it so well that as a home plate umpire, I mean, you're going to give him that pitch because of the catcher behind home plate.
So Chris Duncan strikes out to end the 8th inning threat, and now Brayton Looper comes on to pitch for the Cardinals here in the 9th inning. Looper will face Blanco, Pierre, and Bynum. And Looper, you see his numbers for the year. He was the closer most of last year for the New York Mets, and they felt they needed to upgrade there. They went out, paid the big bucks for Billy Wagner, and Brayton Looper ended up here in St. Louis as mostly a setup man in front of Jason Isringhausen. And Looper, a very hard thrower, as you see Henry Blanco's numbers. The backup to Michael Barrett as the catcher.
Well, you know, he looks like he's signing autographs down there, taking care of his fans in the bullpen. But I got a feeling that telephone's going to ring here, and they're going to say, hey, you know, the plan was not to use you. How you feeling? That was about 3-4 hours ago when we asked you that. We may have changed our mind. What do you think?
Well, I mean, Tony LaRussa, to me, put it this way about Isringhausen. I don't know if I'll be able to use him or not. I mean, he wasn't definite about it. You know, like, I don't know if I'll be able to or not.
Well, Dave Duncan was kind enough to come to me as I finished the Pujols interview and say, hey, you know what? I just want you to know we're going to do everything we can to stay away from Izzy tonight. What does that mean?
So that sort of leaves the door is left ajar there. Do everything we possibly can.
Well, and he's your guy. And he knows that he can make a phone call to the dugout and open that door anytime he wants.
Looper is the 5th pitcher used by Tony LaRussa in this game. And he's behind Henry Blanco now 3-1. He replaces Jorge Sosa, who retired all 4 of the hitters he faced. So Looper needs a strike right now. Now Blanco, if you make a mistake to him, he has some power. That's bounced over the mound. There's Belliard. He got a slow runner going. Takes his time and throws him out. There is one away. Coming up on SportsCenter on ESPN, the wild card chase. In fact, it's wild card chaos. Some would say, especially in the National League, where just about every single team that's not leading a division is still alive somehow in the wild card race. Tiger wins a playoff, and Terrell Owens was fined. I can't believe it.
You know, when I think about that wild card chaos that's going on, I have to think about Commissioner Seelig and just the great job that he's done, all of the different things that he has done. The wild card obviously has worked. Interleague play has worked. The 3 divisions have become fun, and of course revenue sharing, giving some of the smaller market teams an opportunity to compete.
Pierre to second. Belliard throws him out. 2 down. In the National League, you go all the way to the 8th spot, and a team is only 4.5 out. That's Milwaukee. They're 8th. The Braves are 5 games out. They're 9th. Colorado is even in there. So now, realistically, a lot of those teams don't really have a shot. I mean, unless they go out and go, you know, 20-0 or something. Because a lot of those teams are going to be playing each other. Yeah. So you could gain ground on some of them, even if you win every day, but not all of them. I mean, the Braves, if they're going to be in it, they're going to have to leapfrog a few of those teams.
Who's going to do it?
Who's going to do what?
You're the Sunday night expert. Who's coming out of that pack?
I mean, who's going to win the wild card?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. How would I know? That's why I show up every Sunday. I'm trying to find out just like everybody else.
I'll tell you,
Hey, Derek Jeter has the best answer to that.
What's that? He's got great
last year
to everything.
When the Yankees were struggling, and I thought I was offering some comfort and told him about a story in Baltimore one year. The Orioles had 2 different 7-game losing streaks, one of them in late August, and they still won the whole thing.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to give him a little comfort, and Derek says, everybody always wants to point out this and point out that. It's always just, we play the game every day, and then we find out. I mean, he really was not interested in anything except that day's game.
I think Derek Jeter's going to win something this year he's never won before. Right now, he has to be the American League MVP. He kept that team together with all of the injuries with Matsui and Sheffield. He wasn't even at 100%. He had the bad hand. He wouldn't talk about it. He wouldn't complain. And the power numbers were down, but the average was up. The RBIs are up. He's going to win another Gold Glove, and he may have a big trophy. And individual things don't mean anything to him. But all of a sudden, the hand is healthy again, and he hit 2 home runs this afternoon.
Well, now some people in Boston might disagree with that. Some people in Chicago.
Well, Jermaine Dye is making a strong run at it, but right now, I mean, there's a chance that Boston and Chicago won't be in the playoffs.
But I'm not making a prediction. I'm not in the prediction business. You're making a prediction, and that's good. But I'm saying at this point, I'm kind of rooting for him to win it. I think it's time.
Don't be doing that.
I think it's time that guys.
Well, who are you voting for right now?
I don't get a vote. But I think it's time guys get recognized for things other than just the total number of home runs and the total number of RBIs.
Well,
Derek Jeter adds a lot to the equation that don't show up there in those numbers, just as good as they are, and they're awfully good.
And look what happened to Boston when Veritek went down. So did they. That's those intangibles you're talking about.
Bynum is thrown out, 3 ground balls to Belliard, who was the most valuable player on defense in that inning. And I'm saying it right here and now. Albert Pujols will be coming up last of the 9th inning, and let's go to Sports Center for this 1-minute update.
John, Doctor. Sports Center coming up after the Cardinals and the Cubs. Great baseball races continue. Great baseball highlights. NFL preseason as well. And a guy continues to golf real well in Ohio.
That would be Tiger Woods. You figure, right? 3-shot lead, 3 holes to go. This is a lock at the Bridgestone Invitational. Well, no, he got rid of that lead, had to go to the 4th playoff hole, and finally puts away Stewart Cink. Tiger Woods now 4 straight wins since missing the cut of the U.S. Open, T2, and then 4 straight wins. This is his 5th win at Firestone, 52nd overall. That ties him with Byron Nelson. Again, 3 strokes up with 3 holes to play. He gave one back. Cink made a couple of good birdies, and there we have to go to overtime. But as it is, Tiger Woods is your winner. Nice thing there, top 10, 5 U.S. Ryder Cuppers. All right. In addition to that, Andre Agassi, on the eve of the U.S. Open, has a Sunday conversation with Rachel Nichols. And you said baseball?
That's right.
We got baseball.
Open wheel racing history.
Nice.
Top 10 plays of the week.
Thanks, guys. Cubs 6, Cardinals 6. Last of the 9th inning. The Cardinals, who won the ball game last night in the last half of the 9th inning, can they do it again here tonight? Albert Pujols and Scott Rolen are the first 2 hitters coming up.
Let's take a look at his night and what happened. The reason he's struggling right now. The first at bat couldn't have gone any better other than the result. Crushed right back up the middle. But after that, look at what happens. He starts to try to pull the ball. He's too quick. He pulls off of that one, pops it up and frustrated. And once again, a ball in the outer half of the plate with a little sink to it. He's trying to pull it to hit it out of the ballpark rather than just hitting it hard as he did in his first at bat. This is a spot here, though, where he has always made an adjustment. He knows his job is to get on base.
So he'll face a different pitcher. A new pitcher's come out for the Cubs. You see Albert's got 7 game-ending home runs since 2002. And Bobby Howry comes in. He's the man that Dusty Baker was hoping not to have to use.
But it's Cub Cardinals, and it's Albert Pujols. And this is his best option down there right now. Albert 0 for 3 off of Howry. See the numbers, all the games. Another great year for Bobby Howry.
Howry pitched the 8th inning here yesterday and threw 18 pitches and threw the 8th inning Friday night and threw 23 pitches in that game. And there's ball 1 to Pujols. Albert has lined out to center, had the infield single, flied out to left center, and grounded into a force play. The outfield is deep all the way around, as you might expect. Third baseman Ramirez hugging the foul line. Ooh. Well, that could have ended it. Back over the screen.
You know, normally he might have ended this by hitting it to the opposite field. Blanco on the outside corner. The pitch was out there. But see the top hand. Look at how it comes off. Trying to hook the ball. They hit it out. That first at bat has kind of taken away his approach to going to the opposite field so far.
A ball and a strike to Pujols. Base hit.
That's why he will be in the Hall of Fame someday, because he has the ability and the mentality to make an adjustment. He knew he pulled off that pitch again. He was lucky it didn't stay in play, and he was recorded with an out. He makes the adjustment, and even though it's a single, he's smiling. Take a look here. Take a look what's happening. They're trying to stay away. And there he is. He's late on that pitch, trying to pull it. There he is, and right back to the opposite field. That was the key to their success early in the game, going to the opposite field. That may be the key to winning this game. Their superstar doing the same thing.
So Pujols is aboard. Here is Scott Rolen. He is 1 for 4 with an RBI. There goes Albert over the middle. Cedeno. He gets Rolen, but Albert has been moved up. I think Albert had a big jump on that one, too.
He did, but I think Isturris, had he not been on the disabled list, could have turned the double play right there. If he times it a little bit better. Look at Pujols, not happy with the base hit. He's going to try to steal the base. Takes off. There he goes. He's gone. He looks back. The hit and run's in play. There's the ball. Take a look. Could Cedeno have stayed back and maybe got the forced at second? You never know. We've seen Isturris, the Gold Glover, make plays like that. The young shortstop Cedeno not able to make that play. He didn't make a play earlier in the game, which led to 4 runs in the 3rd inning. If it leads to 1 more run here, this game is over.
Well, I mean, he had Rolen nowhere near first base. He had time to at least think about it. Yeah. Encarnacion 3 for 4, and a base hit could win this game right now. And the slider, it's 0-1. Encarnacion didn't swing slider right there. Rolen moving Pujols up. Encarnacion facing Bobby Howry, against whom he has never had much success. 1 hit, 9 lifetime at bats. Belliard on deck. Pujols at second. Another slider. Strike 2. Was made to look bad twice. Bobby Howry, one of the big differences in the fortunes of the Cleveland Indians last year when he was with them, and this year when their bullpen has struggled, he was one of the guys missing. There is Ramirez. The throw! Save! Moves up a bag.
How about this? How about Albert Pujols? We've seen the defense tonight. All right, you know, he struggled offensively. But what's he do here? He's doing all of this with his legs and his mind. Take a look. Right there, he sees nobody there at third. He said, you know what? I can get there. Whether they get the out at first or not, I can get 90 feet away from a win. Look at the effort down the line. Look at him reaching for the bag. He gets the call. Belliard, who has been tremendous defensively at home plate now. Look at the excitement. They know they got an opportunity to pick up another half game in the standings.
So now the Cubs have to bring the infield in and the outfield in. The possible winning run is at third base. And Ronnie Belliard, Howry's teammate in Cleveland last year, tries to beat Howry. And Dusty has the middle infielders looking for the double play ball. And there's ball 1. So they're shooting the works in that middle infield right now. They're not all the way in. The outfielders, though, have to come into a spot where they can catch a ball and still keep Albert Pujols from scoring. And some managers will play those middle infielders in as well. You got him chasing the slider. 1 ball, 1 strike. What an at bat by Encarnacion. Not that he hit the ball real hard, but first couple of sliders, he looked helpless up there.
You know, Antonio LaRussa loves that squeeze play. If not more than any other manager in baseball. But Belliard just acquired, just brought over here. I don't know how much trust he has in Belliard.
And that was not the squeeze. That was interesting.
That's the old safety squeeze there, where you read it as a base runner. Eckstein always outstanding with productive outs. I mean, they put it on, try to bunt for a base hit there, but as the third baseman, you don't go until you see him make contact with the ball. As the hitter, you do not try to bunt anything you don't know you can get on the ground.
The Cardinals last year attempted the squeeze bunt more than 20 times, or 22, 23 times.
Well, the Cubs didn't pitch out. Tony saw that.
2-1 the count. Ball 3. On deck is Aaron Miles, the switch hitter.
Interesting spot right now with that last fastball just missing the inside corner. Great look at K zone there. We saw that called strike 3 on Chris Duncan. Was not called a strike there. The pitcher's back to the wall. Miles, not an RBI guy in the on deck circle. LaRussa might be thinking squeeze here.
It's ball 4.
Now I know he's thinking it.
Now Larry Rothschild's going to go out to talk to Howry. The bases are loaded. 1 out. And Aaron Miles is the guy trying to win it for the Cardinals. Aaron Miles. Even Cardinal fans saying, wait a minute. Do we know this guy? I mean, Aaron Miles, he was one of those guys a long time in the minor leagues, and he finally got a shot in Colorado, and he did well in Colorado.
3,300 at bats at the minor league level before getting to the big leagues. And look at him here on the big stage here in the National League. Okino's coming down there to talk to him. I mean, there's a lot of wheels spinning right now. Rothschild out there to tell Howry and Blanco, look, all right, no matter what happens, if you hear the third baseman holler, there he goes. All right, get it off the plate, down the third base line where he can't reach it to bunt it, and we'll be able to apply the tag.
Well, Okendo, the third base coach, has spoken to Miles, the hitter. He then spoke to Albert Pujols, the runner at third, and also to the runner at second.
Yeah. You don't have the safety squeeze now because you got the forced play at home. This is the suicide if and when Tony, he's thinking about it. I just don't know when he's going to pick his spot to do it.
The infield is in, the outfield is in. And here we go, 1 out. Ball 1 off the outside.
May not have to with another walk.
Plus, remember, Howry, he's fighting fatigue. His 5th outing in the last 6 games.
And this is Tony's spot right here.
1 ball and no strikes. Ball 2.
Albert's playing the third base coach there, holding his hand out like a third base coach would do to say, hey, make sure you get a pitch up that you can get over the infield and to the outfield.
2 balls, no strikes. Bases loaded, 1 out. And a pop foul. That will go out of play. Everybody is shallow all around the infield and the outfield. And here's how they're playing it. I mean, look at where those outfielders are. They've got to be able to catch a ball and be moving forward and still be able to throw out Albert Pujols at the plate.
I'm gonna be really surprised if he doesn't try the squeeze here.
2 balls and 1 strike. Pujols with his lead from third. A fly ball foul off the left field line. No squeeze. 2-2.
You know, I'm really surprised that he's not an RBI guy. It's not like you're trying to squeeze to tie the game. You're trying to put the squeeze on to win.
Dusty Baker's Cubs just holding on for dear life at the moment. Miles is only hitting .239 with runners in scoring position. The hot hitting Bennett is on deck. The shortstop. There's one at the plate. Blanco back to first. Not in time. Two down. Encarnacion over to third, but now everybody can move back and play normal defense.
You know, I was wrong, obviously, but I was surprised Tony LaRussa didn't try to win it himself. Miles is not an RBI guy. And when you bring all 7 guys, 8 including the pitcher, in like that, there just aren't many holes for a line drive ground ball type hitter. He hustles down the line just to beat the throw from Blanco, keeping the inning alive and keeping yesterday's hero up at home plate with an opportunity to win it again.
So Aaron Miles shaking his head, didn't get it done. But now Gary Bennett, just yesterday, he got it done in the 9th inning. His base hit knocked in the winning run and ended the game. Can he do it again? Off the outside. Bennett tonight has grounded out. He's walked twice and had a sacrifice bunt. So he's only 0 for 1. No hits, 1 official at bat, and has had 8 hits in his last 12 official at bats. One ball and no strike. 6-6, last of the 9th, 2 down. That ball hit deep, left center field. That ball is on its way. A grand slam, and it's all over. Gary Bennett does it for the 2nd day in a row.
On August the 17th, he was hitting under 200. Some people might have given up on him. But with the injury to Molina, the opportunity for Bennett to play every day, he has capitalized on that.
The biggest moment you would imagine in Bennett's career, at least since yesterday. And he is standing by downstairs with Bonnie Bernstein. Bonnie?
Gary Bennett, 4 home runs for you this week. How crazy has it been filling in for Molina?
Now I have no idea where it came from. I'm just trying to stay as relaxed as I can and contribute while Yadi's resting. That's what I was brought here to do. Hopefully give us a chance to win while I'm on the field, while if Yadi needs a break. That's all I'm trying to do, man.
Take me through that last at bat. What was going through your head?
Man, I was just trying to put a good swing on the ball over the plate.
You're not thinking much, are you?
I'm not. That's the thing, man. You know, when you're going bad, you got a million things going through your head. When you're going good, you're just thinking, see the ball and react. That's what I'm doing right now, so I'm going to try and ride it out.
For whatever reason, the Cubs have been your nemesis this year. What's gone on with this club that's enabled you to put the sweep on them?
We're just trying to focus on playing good baseball, you know. Obviously, they took it to us the first half of the season, but we've talked in the clubhouse. We're in a good position here. Obviously, we've had some ups and downs, but we're still in a great position to make a run for the postseason. That's all we're concentrating on. We don't care what happened before.
Gary, thanks.
Gary Bennett, 34 years old, a journeyman, former Philly, Met, Rocky, Padre, Brewer, and National, and now the king of St. Louis.
4 different teams the last 4 years. I got a feeling he's going to be back in that Cardinal uniform next year because of this. He missed the outside corner with the first pitch. With the bases loaded, Howie knows he's got to challenge him. Bennett knew that too, and he's locked in right now, swinging the bat as well as anybody in baseball. Got a pitch to handle and gave this crowd exactly what they came to the ballpark tonight for.
And that set him off in the Cardinal dugout, as you can imagine. They're longtime rivals, the Cubs, who've tormented them much of the season. And the Cubs succumb in the 9th inning for the 2nd day in a row. The Cardinals sweep this series and move 3 games up on Cincinnati in the Central Division. And what's more, they could also be celebrated because they're done with the Cubs for this year. The team that beat them in the season series and beat them handily in that season series.
John, the difference was the defense tonight, and it's really been the story for both of these teams all year long. The Cardinals have played defense all year long. The Cubs have not. Great plays made on one side of the field. Plays that should have been made on the other were not. Gave the Cardinals the opportunity to win it. Gary Bennett took care of it.
It was a winnable game for the Cubs, and a lot of things conspired against them, just as the Cardinals played so well and turned outs from hits. So the Cardinals win this one, and Gary Bennett with the night of his life. Congratulations to him. SportsCenter is coming up next. And next week, we'll see you in Detroit on Sunday Night Baseball. Now for Rick Sutcliffe and Bonnie Bernstein, I'm John Miller saying good night from St. Louis. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.